Welcome to the News Belt on the AM show. In our first story, the Attorney General and Minister of Justice, Dr. Dominic Ayeni, has revealed that the immediate past Director General of the National Signals Bureau, Kwabena Edubwahin, allegedly diverted and embezzled up to 39 million Ghana cedis from the agency. Speaking at a news conference here in Accra, the Attorney General revealed how Edubwahin allegedly manipulated bank transfers and evaded arrest. There's more in this report.
Director General of the National Signals Bureau, Kwabena Edubwahin, was arrested last Thursday over allegations of money laundering, embezzlement, and the misuse of state funds. The Attorney General, Dr. Dominic Ayeni, outlined the state's case against him at a news conference today, revealing details of financial crimes linked to a cybersecurity equipment purchased from an Israeli firm. Dr. Ayeni disclosed that Edubwahin used various mechanisms to evade arrest.
On Thursday, March 20th, 2025, EOCO received intelligence again, additional intelligence, that the suspect had cancelled his flight and rescheduled his arrival to Ghana from Dubai to April 18, 2020. That's April 8, not 18. April 8, 2020. On March 20th, around 3 p.m., EOCO's operational team, led by the acting deputy executive director in charge of operations, assessed this operational plan to include the possibility that the suspect could have traveled back to London to fly to Ghana in an attempt to evade surveillance. EOCO assessed with high confidence that the changes made by the suspect in terms of arrival date in Ghana may have been calculated step to mislead investigators and throw them off any possible surveillance.
Investigations have uncovered questionable financial transactions. Edubwahin allegedly misapplied state funds through bank transfers and other dealings.
He and his wife, Miss Angela Ejeboati, registered a company on October 23, 2018, which they named, and listen carefully, BNC Communications Bureau Limited. It is important to note that the similarity between the names here, that is BNC, was designed, to engage in a criminal enterprise. Mr. Edubwahin, who is the head or who was the head of the BNC, and his wife are listed as directors of the private BNC. On October 26, 2018, the couple opened a corporate account for their private BNC at Universal Merchant Bank, UMB. In his capacity as director of the National BNC, Mr. Edubwahin on January 30th, 2020, signed a contract on behalf of the government of Ghana and the National Security Council on the one hand, and on the other hand, an Israeli company called ISC Holdings Limited. The contract was for the purchase of a cyber defense system software at a price of $7 million United States of American dollars. Let us call this contract the GOD ISC contract.
He is also accused of embezzling over 39 million cedis, diverting public funds for personal use.
That is to say that the sum of 39,462,480 Ghana cedis of taxpayers' money went into their private pockets. The investigation has revealed that the ultimate beneficial owner of BNC Communications Limited is another company known as Advantage Solutions Limited. 10 other companies are through a very complex web of shareholding and directorship connected to Mr. Edubwahin and his wife, Angela.
According to the Attorney General, Edubwahin and his wife used the funds to acquire landed properties in Accra and other locations.
The properties that are in their names are as follows. We have number 2 Stream Park Drive, Mayfair Estate, LA, that is Accra. For that, they deposited, and we have the deposit slip as well as the receipt from the estate developer, $1 million United States of American dollars. Number 6, Edith Avenue, Mayfair Estate, Accra. deposit 500,000 United States of America. That's American dollars.
We'll bring you more on this when we settle for our big stories later in the show. But in our next story, traders in Edum are protesting a decongestion of the market. Authorities say this exercise is to create a pathway for emergency cases. The traders are back in the market, counting their losses days after fire razed their stalls. Items worth millions of Ghana cedis have been lost. Friday's fire at the Blue Light Arena razed several shops to the ground, leaving many traders without a source of income. Now, as part of recovery efforts, authorities announced the decongestion initiative aimed at clearing a clear route for emergency services in the busy commercial district.
24 hours and more, the Ghana National Fire Service were able to contain the fire that engulfed the Edum PZ Arena on Sunday. This incident left over 6,000 traders counting their losses. But the regional minister, Dr. Frank Amoakohene, had earlier indicated that in order to curb a future reoccurrence, there is a need to decongest the area and create a pathway. But this directive has been faced by fierce resistance by some of these traders.
If they
take the land, we won't be able to take care of our children. We plead with government to hand over our land to us to construct our own structures. We fear that we might lose our land. If we are protecting for us to lose ownership, then we will not agree.
At the Menchia Palace also, it was outrage among some affected traders who came to witness the Ashanti Regional Minister's briefing to the Kumasi Traditional Council. According to the Ashanti Regional Minister Frank Amoakohene, the Kumasi Traditional Council will be visiting the Edum PZ Arena tomorrow.
The Asantehene has left the Achampfohene to handle everything on his behalf. They send their sympathy to all of us who have been affected by the fire. The Kumasi Traditional Council are expected to visit the place tomorrow to find a resolution to all your demands.
While the traders are refusing to allow the decongestion exercise to continue, they are also demanding the PZ Arena land to be handed over to them for them to continue with their businesses. For Joy News, my name is Anabwachi Dankwayadom, Kumasi.
The Ghana Standards Authority is cracking down on unapproved paint products with dangerous lead levels. Following Joy News' Hotline documentary, American Paints, the authority raided several shops in Accra, seizing samples for testing. Maxwell Aklobotu reports.
Heated exchange between officers of the Ghana Standards Authority and the owner of a paint trading shop in Nadabraka. These particular paint samples were expired.
But we are safe. I say, and I wouldn't. We know. Oh, won't see any American. Adia, I say, won't to me, and find Shadra. What's in the American?
This action follows a shocking expose by Joy News revealing that some shops were selling illegal lead-laced paints, with others mixing expired paints with local products. The Ghana Standards Authority carried out a surprise operation to collect samples from several paint shops. At some locations, they were caught mixing different paints, while others sold unbranded products. In total, 15 shops were searched, with some shop owners resisting the inspection.
Take your time. We are working with law. Take your time, relax, and then you don't know. You do not know.
But backed by the law and accompanied by security personnel, the GSA officers collected over 20 paint samples, all of which will undergo rigorous testing. Head of Special Projects at GSA, George Kojo Anti, said the initial findings were alarming and shocking.
And indeed, what we've seen today has been very revealing and I must say disturbing to some extent.
He warned that shop owners found to be in breach of the law will be severely punished.
In fact, some persons said that the products they were displaying were not meant to be sold because they themselves knew that those products had some issues with quality or even in some cases had expired. And this is in flagrant breach of the relevant provisions of the GSA Act 1078.
He also warned other shop owners to be on high alert because they will soon pay them a surprise visit.
But the arms of the law are really, really long. And ultimately, they catch up with everybody. So if you are in this business of selling substandard paints, selling any substandard products, please watch out. You can go to bed tonight because we haven't come to you. But tomorrow, it will be your turn. And the consequences will be very, very dire.
The Standards Authority is hopeful that these actions will help rid the market of unapproved and illegal paint products. For Joy News, Maxwell Aklobotu's report, read to you.
Let's head to the OT region now, as the regional minister is asking district assemblies in that region to be innovative about revenue mobilization for development. According to him, the assemblies cannot continue to rely on the central government for support at all times. There's more in this report.
City Regional Minister John Kwajujapon has urged district assemblies to educate residents within their jurisdictions about their tax obligations to the state. This, the minister believes, when done, would help generate revenue for the assemblies. He added the district and the municipal assemblies cannot continue to rely on central government for funds for development at all times.
The impression of the KJB District Assembly is not bad, it's okay. And I think that is a good lesson and it is good we continue it. We are also talking about maybe we're going to ask the assemblies to go out there and train the people or educate people about, property rates. It's like nobody is paying property rate at all. It is important that once you build on the land of this country, you pay some property rate to government. And so we're going to talk about that. We are also going to educate, the revenue collectors about how to go around and collect revenue instead of collecting food items and other things for the fees that this market women should pay.
Well, staying in that region, the leadership of elected assembly women is asking for more women representation at the district level. The group says not a single woman was shortlisted by the ruling NDC to be considered for appointment as a district chief executive. There's more in this report.
The leadership of the elected assembly women in the OT region joined women in the Akpafo Mempiasam community to commemorate year 2025 International Women's Day celebration with a call to duty to accelerate action in support of women empowerment and development. Rebecca Addy is the leader of the elected assembly women in the OT region. She bemoans the low number of women who file and get elected to the various district assemblies.
If a woman comes out that is contesting for any leadership role, they see that woman cannot perform well, and then you will not be picked. And even if the woman is not elected, when you get to appointment, the women will come out boldly, but they will not appoint them. So, through my investigation, they said women have a lot of barriers. One barrier is educational background. Another barrier is socio-cultural value. Another barrier is the age. And then, if a woman who is able to break all these barriers, and then now I am free, I've broken all these barriers, and I presented myself. What is another problem which is making the authority not to shortlist the women?
She says of all the shortlisting of potential MDCs in the OT region by the current government, not one woman was part of the list.
This year, all the ladies who file in for DCE. None was shortlisted. We are having 9 districts in OT region, 9 districts, and they shortlisted 3 members from every district. And out of these 9 districts, no woman was shortlisted.
Well, from women's representation, let's talk health. Clubfoot affects many children in Ghana, limiting their mobility and opportunities. Despite being treatable, the cost and stigma often delay intervention. With about 1,000 cases recorded annually, the Christian Health Association of Ghana, supported by Brazza International Foundation, Hope Walks, and the Multimedia Group, is launching a free treatment program at Kwadaso SDA Hospital in Kumasi. Clinton Yeboah now reports.
Of clubfoot is not much discussed, or better put, not much attention has been given to it. But the management of clubfoot is marred with barriers, including cost, the adequacy of infrastructure and resources, and even cultural beliefs. Here at the Kwadaso SDA Hospital, we engaged experts to discuss deeper into the condition, the interventions available, as well as what could actually be done right. Inadequate awareness among many parents particularly delays crucial interventions for the condition. Medical Director of Kwadaso SDA Hospital, Dr. Randolph Ba Edu, says untreated cases are common, and one of the major challenges surrounding clubfoot treatment is the lack of awareness.
Affecting them. And so in the past, parents who have such children, they either tend to hide them, and therefore they don't even send them to hospital because it's a shame, the stigma and all that. Now we go out there to educate the mothers, encourage them, and then also when we show them pictures and babies who have, or children who have undergone treatment and now they are walking and they are fine, then they have the belief that, oh, after all, this is not a certain case.
To increase reach and raise awareness of the disease, the Christian Health Association of Ghana is organizing a 2-day outreach on the disease, including a half-day training for healthcare professionals in the Ashanti region from March 26 to 27, 2025 at the SDA Hospital in Kwadaso. CHAG, with support from Hope Walks, has established clinics in various hospitals and conducted extensive outreach to raise awareness and provide treatment successfully, benefiting 8,000 children. Dr. Baidu says children with clubfoot can achieve full mobility with the right treatment.
Even because they even have some perception that it will be too expensive, so they will not even start. Others too, the treatment itself is not offered in every hospital. And so they may go to certain clinics and not much will be done for them. And because of that, they will not even follow up. They go through certain procedures, including physiotherapy and casting, where they put POP, and they did some minor surgeries where they call it a tenectomy. It's also done for them. So it's a group of procedures that they go through, and then eventually they will exit.
Experts believe clubfoot treatment should be widely accessible across Ghana's healthcare system. Families with children diagnosed with clubfoot are encouraged to seek immediate medical attention. Dr. Randolph Baedu is entreating affected families to take advantage of the free intervention.
Currently, we have a total of 84 babies under 5 years, children under 5 years, who has been recruited, and 2 of them has been fully treated and discharged. The rest are still undergoing treatment. So that is the background of this upcoming program. We at SDA Hospital Kwadaso here, we are very happy that CHAG is working with us together with Hope Works to be able to organize this outreach. And we want every child under 5 years with that clubfoot to come. So we are encouraging all parents. And if you know anybody who has a child who is less than 5 years and is having a clubfoot, please encourage them to come.
For Joy News, my name is Clinton Yeboah.
It's time now for our business update, and Sweetie Abochi will usher you right into it.
Let's proceed. Now, senior finance lecturer at the University of Ghana Business School, Dr. Benjamin Amoah, is upbeat. The timely publication of minutes of monetary policy meetings and how members vote on the policy rate will enhance transparency and trust in the financial markets. He, however, warned that if the publication goes beyond 3 weeks, that will have repercussions on the financial markets. Dr. Benjamin Amoah spoke to Joy Business.
If market watchers and analysts know what exactly is happening and what is influencing their decision in terms of the minutes that will be published, of course, I doubt if they will go ahead to identify each statement made and assign it to a name. What the minutes will be is more of a summary of the discussions and the voting that will be taking place as to how many people voted for and how many people voted against. In terms of matching the details of the vote to the membership or the members of the Monetary Policy Committee, I doubt if the central bank will do that. But it is good that at least the market is having some insight into what is happening. What we need to be looking at is how many days in terms of lag will it take the central bank to release these minutes? Are we going to work within the traditional window of, let's say, maximum 3 weeks to release the minutes? Because if it goes beyond 3 weeks, the information becomes stale and it's most likely the market will have reacted already. So the minutes must be timely enough so that the public can also take decisions based on it.
And to wrap this bit, let's take a look at what's happening on the commodities market. That's it for the business update. Handing over back to Benjamin.
Well, stay with us. Up next, we serve you the news review. We have Ahmad Pratt, who is with the presidency, the vice presidency, I should say. She's one of the spokespersons for the vice president. And we also have Dr. Ekow Assafuah, a member of the MPP's communications team. We'll be right back.
Hi there, and a warm welcome to the news review segment on the AM Show. The AM Show is sponsored by Waylead Properties. Are you thinking of a rewarding investment you can engage in? Waylead Company is your preferred choice for such investment. Waylead Company Limited is a real estate company with several developments to its credit here in Accra. You want to invest in our new development, Willow Lane, where elegance will meet tranquility in the heart of Accra. We provide quality housing at an affordable cost and also with a flexible payment option. At Waylead Properties, we provide you 24-hour security, reliable power supply, and other social amenities to make your stay a memorable one. Why don't you give us a call now? 0240-111-119 or 0504-499-999. You can also visit our website, www.waylead.org, for more information. Ben tells you more.
Well, let me tell you now about this fact. Every year, thousands of Ghana's brightest minds seek better prospects abroad, leaving a gap in our workforce. The question is, how can Ghana inspire its talent to stay right here in our country? Well, joining us for that conversation, we have David Ofosu-Dorte, Professor Mary Setrana, and Her Excellency Dr. Amina Gurib Fakim, former president of Mauritius, at the 12th edition of the Ishmael Yamson and Associates Business Roundtable to discuss managing the talent exodus, leveraging private-public partnerships for growth. The date is the 7th of May, 2025. The venue is the Labadi Beach Hotel. The time, 9 a.m. Now, to register, text your name and organization to 0530 117 202. Or you can shoot a message to info@ieyamson.com. That is info@ieyamson.com. Well, let's get into our newspapers now. And shortly, one of our guests will be interacting with us. But for now, I am here with Sweetie Abochi. We have a stack of papers this morning that we're going to be contemplating. What do you have?
I want to start from the back page of the Daily Graphic.
No.
Because Ghana, go!
No, we're not starting from the back page of the Daily Graphic. I'm just thinking, though.
No, I think the Ghana Black Stars.
I'm going to give you a minute. I'm going to give you a minute to share any thoughts that
Well, so here's my take. Often, when issues come up, it's normal that people will take sides. But sometimes we have to take off our party colors and look at the issues devoid of any partisan or favoritism here and there.
The bigger picture. Huh?
The bigger picture, Ben. I'm talking about this Edubuahin case. Yesterday in the newsroom, I was part of the people who were saying that, wow, the Attorney General just make a press conference. This man was arrested. Who the hell? Who is this man? And why is he a person of interest? And then I read the details. I listen to the Attorney General top story. And then I say to myself, wow, no wonder he says we should brace ourselves for more. There's something he said, rumble something in the coming days. We did a workshop, Media Foundation for West Africa did a workshop on illicit financial flows, and I was part of it. And the very first red line or red flag you see is that company in the name of BNC, Bureau of National Communications Limited. If you don't have any evil intention,
a state institution,
you really shouldn't do that. That was the very first flaw. Of course, I'm not going to get into it because this is a matter in court, and of course, the lawyers will get into it and do all that. But as a citizen watching this, the amount of taxpayers' monies. And you notice when the Attorney General was speaking, before he got to the money, it was almost as if he was choking. He had to clear his throat and all that. I said to myself, no. There has to be a point we get to as Ghanaians where we remove the NDC and the NPP flag and we match. I don't want to say criminals and refer to him, but criminals, if we find out that indeed you're a criminal, we march them to the courts and they face justice, whether or not you're NDC or NPP. That's my stance.
We're not going to, in this jurisdiction, unlike in some other jurisdictions, it is guilty until proven or innocent until proven guilty. In other jurisdictions,
so when you are found
it is
guilty,
different. It makes an interesting case, listening to the different dynamics. However, in a court of law, many interesting things can happen because sometimes prima facie evidence may not necessarily translate into a conviction. However, if you look at the thread of activity, the sums involved versus purchases made, real estate, board of directors, and all of that, all I can say is it makes for interesting conversation. But no one is going to hang Mr. Edubuahin or his wife. What I do find interesting, though, my sources tell me that, you remember Professor Edubuahin, who was flag bearer for the NPP in 1992. Charles Edubuahin, the former deputy finance minister, was his son. And the information I'm picking up, and if anyone knows otherwise, you could correct me, I would gladly cede, is that Mr. Edubuahin is also, because I'm saying Edubuahin because I see the spelling of his name is not the usual Edubuahin. So I'm just wondering, is that the case? And if it were, the good old professor and his legacy versus what is now, proceeding after him, I don't know, but it is what it is. But if I had my way, which I don't, if I had my way, and I'm not speaking specifically to this issue, if I had my way, I mean, kind of cheat. Okay, so we know about Omayi Chrono. Yeah, match wako Black Star Square. Wow. We are near the water. But of course, that's not.
Someone say you are promoting violence.
No. That's not how the law works.
Yeah.
And I know that's not how it works. So if I had my way, but I don't have my way, and that's it. We must set examples. I don't know, but it is what it is. Anyway.
And that was mouthful. The words in the press conference, the statement, from the lawyers of Mr. Edubuahin, teaching the Attorney General the kindergarten of law and prosecutorial, what's. It's an interesting time to be alive in this country. But I want to get into sports because...
Here's something interesting, a last bit.
Yeah.
Even as the NDC cracks the whip when it comes to these past officials, I ask myself, though, if current officials also get mired in anything fishy, will they approach it with that same zeal, zest, energy? Will oral when it comes to NDC officials? Do you get what I mean? So it's all well and good. We can do this. And I'm in support of, even if you've stolen one peswa, you have to account for it. I mean, buying how many state houses? If he did that with his own money, fair and square. But if not, if it's Ghana's money, yo, dude, there are schools under trees, over 5,000. What they go on? But I'm asking, will it be different strokes for different folks? Or will oral when it comes to members of this administration as well? And we'll be watching for sure.
Well, while we are, should I say, brooding over this, we should also celebrate the Black Stars for that victory they gave us yesterday, 3-0 against Madagascar.
Charlie, right out the project.
Should we start celebrating? Because I've been disappointed by the Black Stars one too many times that I want the third victory before I can start celebrating with the rest of you. I know that this is great. The first one against Chad, now this. The next game, if we emerge victorious, I hope we do, fingers crossed, then I'm going to start wearing my jersey again. Not to say that I'm not being a patriotic citizen or anything, but the number of times the Black Stars have broken my heart,
I've not donned the Ghana jersey in a while, not because of any, but sometimes they've just been downright disappointing. I don't know what has changed.
A lot of times.
I don't know what has changed. If you look at the records, we've not won by some of these margins in a long time. 5-0, 3-0. It's been a 1-goal project or losing to teams that formerly we felt would never even rub shoulders with us. This is good, but I'm saying let's hasten slowly. Relax. So
you agree with me?
Let's relax. Let's not get too excited. But these two wins, I think they've made Ghanaians pretty happy. It's been a long time since Ghana had cause to celebrate the Black Stars like this.
Anyway, so on the back page, that story is on the back page of the Daily Graphic, and it says Ghana's Black Stars produced a masterclass in dominance as they cruised to a 3-0 victory over Madagascar in their 2026 FIFA World Cup qualifier at the Minoun Al Arsi Stadium in Morocco. I'm sure we all followed that, and congratulations to the Black Stars. Of course, Mufta Nabil Abdullah will tell you. I'll bring you all the details of how that game went. On the front page, however, alleged 39.46 million Ghana cedis diversion. Edu Boahen wife arrested. Deal was on state cyber defense software. And I was just reading around on when this National Signals Bureau Act came into play and what their role is. And I can say that this man did the exact thing that this bureau was set up to prevent. So this is an act to establish a National Signals Bureau to provide integrated, secure signal systems for the national security and intelligence agencies. And this bill was passed by Parliament and signed by the President in 2020. Yeah, so we are just about 4 years. A little over 4 years into this National Signals Bureau Act, and this is where we are. Yesterday, the Attorney General had that press conference. I just want to give out some details here. Dr. Ayeni said, while serving as the Director General of BNC in 2018, Mr. Edu Boahen and his wife incorporated a private company with the name, quote, BNC Communication Bureau Limited, unquote. A name similar to the then Bureau of National Communication. And the company, the Attorney General said, had Mr. Edu Boahen and his wife listed as directors, and they proceed to open a corporate account for that. So other stories, special court to fight galamsey in Ofing, free sanitary pad intervention, government pledges to source from local producers, that's good news. Party time, Ghana crushed Madagascar 3-0. Let's get into the newspaper now and do some stories. I want to start from the international front. Trump's Pentagon chief slams judge for halting transgender ban. Greenland condemns planned visits by Asha Van's Trump advisor. And Special courts to fight galamsey in the offing. This is a story of interest for me. The government will set up special courts for the speedy prosecution of persons cited for illegal mining, commonly known as galamsey in local circles. To that end, the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources is working with the Minister of Justice and Attorney General, as well as the judiciary, to firm up modalities for the setting up of the courts. But we've all said that if there's a way to fast track, not all, I mean, I've heard a lot of people say that perhaps if we're able to do this, then we can prosecute those who are found culpable, and it will also serve as a deterrent to people who want to go into galamsey because of the effects that the entire Ghanaian population is feeling. So if there are plans underway to actually make this a reality, I want to know how you feel about it.
I mean, how can I feel about this? Let's wait and see how it goes. That's all I'm going to say.
Okay. So on free sanitary pad intervention...
Because in the end, promises have been made, things have been said. Agronifem, we want to see things happen. That's it.
Okay. Well, they're saying that plans are underway. So they're working together with these ministries, Attorney General, Minister of Justice, Lands and Natural Resources, to fast track.
So usually there's this saying that, we have the saying, something is in the pipeline, right? In this country, the pipeline can be pretty long. So some things, while I see the seriousness of this administration, I'm still taking some things with a pinch of salt and just hoping and praying. Because look, where we are now, it's basically a time bomb we're sitting on. It's ticking. So we either man up or woman up or face the consequences.
Right. Well, let's get on to some other stories now. On a free sanitary pad intervention, government pledges to source from local producers. The government has pledged to source from local producers sanitary pads meant for free distribution to female students in basic and high schools. The intervention is part of the deliberate effort by the government to efficiently use procurement to promote the production and consumption of goods made in Ghana. We already know that taxes on locally produced sanitary pads have been scrapped. So this is good news for local producers in this country who are manufacturing sanitary pads. In a way, it cuts down costs. So yeah, I like that one. President Mahama swears in reconstituted Armed Forces Council. And of course, the chairperson for that council is Professor J. Nana Opoku Ajiman. President John Dramani Mahama has sworn in the newly constituted Ghana Armed Forces Council and urged the members to prioritize ethical leadership and discipline across all ranks of the military. He said that the effectiveness of the armed forces hinged on the character, morale, and professionalism of its personnel, and therefore tasked the 7-member council to live up to their mandate. Quote, "It is not just the weapon or the size of an army that defines its effectiveness, but the character, morale, and professionalism of its personnel." Benjamin Akapo, since you're my guest this morning, I want to know how crucial it is, this role that the Vice President is occupying as the chairman, or should I say chairwoman, of the Ghana Armed Forces Council.
It's interesting for me. I mean, usually you would see vice presidents and the portfolio, at least to the best of my knowledge, would be chairing the police council and all of that. So yesterday, as the processes went through and as she came to speak, I found it pretty interesting, refreshing on certain grounds. I do not, and I have to be clear, I do not know what the structures are specifically when it comes to the military, because I know that the president is basically in charge of the Ghana Armed Forces. He gives certain directives, and based on advice, they will have to comply with it. I've forgotten the particular terminology. The commander-in-chief, right? So my appreciation of what she is, the role she will play is limited, but I also know that there's a lot of trust in the vice president, which is why the president even nominated her one more time. The party did, for them to contest in the last election. We can only wish her the best as she handles this portfolio. It will be crucial because there has also been talk about some of the changes, the shake-up in the military establishment, what it could bode with other officers coming to take over, whether it's 1-star generals coming to take over from 2-star generals. what it means for the 2-star generals who may now be supposedly forced into retirement, because you know the military structure, you can't have a junior leading a senior, so to speak. So if a brigadier general is now going to be elevated, what happens to the major general, and all of those dynamics. While these are things that we've seen in the past that has been done, we must also look at it from those angles and what role she would play as vice president in respect of ensuring that we have a seamless transition and that all of them, some people may feel disgruntled, but it's a cyclical thing. It's something we do. How do we manage it to ensure our security is stable? That's my concern.
Your appreciation of it. I just want to link it and congratulate Namibia for their very first president, female president and female vice president. Way to go. Hopefully the women there don't play catch up like other parts of the world. And let's move on to other stories. Minority accuses Attorney General of abuse of power. Okay, so the minority in Parliament has accused the Attorney General and Minister of Justice, Dominic Ayine, of abusing his office by interfering in the investigations and weaponizing state institutions against political opponents. Addressing a press conference at Parliament House yesterday, the second deputy minority whip, Jerry Ahmed Shaib, described the conduct of the AG as an overreach that threatens the rule of law and democratic principles. Quote, the Attorney General is abusing his office in ordering raids and conducting investigations. And the Attorney General is first a legal advisor to the government and an officer of the court. I'm tempted to say that is an argument they can make because perhaps that is also the strategy of the NDC. They did say we're building the Ghana we want together. So in as much as we don't want to be trying people, alleged criminals and other perpetrators of some crimes in the court of public opinion, I think a lot of Ghanaians can appreciate that they're keeping us updated with these developments as and when information comes to light. But minority are not happy about that. And so they're saying the Attorney General is abusing their power. I'll leave that to the lawyers as well. CPP inaugurates, Ben, quick comment on that. The minority's disagreement with the Attorney General's methodology in terms of giving press conferences, conducting raids, and also the Attorney General clarified that, contrary to what we're reporting, that they stole, the national security officers stole the CCTV. 10,000 CDs and all that. Yeah, he said they didn't take the CCTV. Instead, they took the hard drives. And I was asking myself, so what is the CCTV without the hard drive? And what is the hard drive without the CCTV? But he saw, I think it was important enough for him to clarify.
On the, you know, all of these gadgets, they record the information. And so then, as you have that drive, just like a computer's hard drive, you can follow it from there.
So my question is, was it absolutely necessary that he made that clarification that no, we didn't take the CCTV. Instead, we took the hard drive. But let's listen to Jerry Ahmed Shaib, yesterday's press conference when he registered that displeasure. Let's take a listen to him.
Attorney General is an officer of the court. His interest is to assist the court in dispensing justice when investigators bring their case and evidence. The poster of the new AG undermines this rule. He is no longer acting as an officer of the court, but is instead acting as someone who has conducted his own inquisition, determined guilt of a suspect, and is seeking to force his view or his views on the courts. The practice undermines the role of the Attorney General and undermines the administration of justice. All well-meaning voices that respect the operation of the rule of law should call on it to an end and to end it now as we speak. We are asking that all well-meaning voices that respect the operation of the rule of law should call on the Attorney General to put an end to this immediately. The Attorney General is not expected to start off by prejudicing an investigation and in his mind conducting an inquisition on suspects. Since when did we have an Attorney General who himself orders arrest, conducts investigations, and examines his own evidence to determine if a prima facie case is being documented or docketed against a suspect? This is highly improper and leads to bias right from the investigation process. Let the courts decides the guilt or innocence of suspects. The new approach where the Attorney General seeks to convict political opponents in the court of public opinion before going to the court of competent jurisdiction is an abomination that should not be countenanced.
And I have heard the minority, nitpick some of what is being done, and it is their right to do so. It is their right. I mean, I don't think if you were on the other side, if you were on the side of the minority, if you were on the side of Dr. Edubuahin, Ekow Assafuah, or now, I don't think Dr. Addison, I don't think you would feel, oh yeah, come, let's do this. You would feel pushed to the wall. But while we also, and that's why we are in a democracy, no one is saying that just because the Attorney General has done this or said this, he is in the right and people can be thrown into jail or something of the sort. That is why we have the courts. So in the end, if you have evidence, let's go to the courts, let's deal with the evidence, and he whom the cap fits, let him wear it. That's the bottom line. But the minority is entitled to its opinion. Let's respect that as a people. But I think the ultimate arbiter should be the courts. The courts should do a diligent job, and he who has squandered must pay. That's it.
On the accusation of the Attorney General being prejudiced, I think Justice Shremsai yesterday on PM Express was saying that it's not unusual because the Attorney General goes to courts with a stance, and all the time they have a stance on any case. Now I'm quoting him that they take to courts. They have their position. The Attorney General is not an arbiter who is required to be fair and not to prejudice a case. That was Justice Shremsai explaining, or should I say defending, the Attorney General, whether or not he has a stance before the case is tried in court proper. Let me rush through.
Just a quick thought, though. I do like what the Attorney General is doing.
You do?
Here's why. Sometimes, in the past, sometimes you wouldn't have that much information. It's not everything they can say because there are certain things that cannot be put into the public domain, and you also don't want to compromise the case or paint a certain picture before you go to court. However, I feel some of what is being done will also make the populace know. We said we would do this. This is what in respect of this specific person. I mean, in respect of Dr. Addison, in respect of Ekow Assafuah, we know at least what, we don't know so many details. I guess it has proceeded further with Edubuahin, and that is why we are seeing this. Some things cannot be said on that pulpit, right? It will be said in court. But it is good for the people of Ghana to also know, because when you go on social media, go and read the comments under some of these things. People want to know if indeed someone was able to buy all of these houses at a point, pay $1 million, $500,000. Was that his money? If that's his money, leave him alone. Let him enjoy his largesse. But if it is our money that was being expended, like you are buying cocoa, then the people of Ghana, we take issue with that, and we want to follow this to the end. And this is where also, if you start this kind of charge and you say someone has done this and you are not able to follow through, then we take you as well on, because then based on what were you operating. But I think it is good. The more the people get to know what is happening, the more our leaders will sit up. The more you educate the people, the more they will hold you to account. And those are problems we have here. Because if people are not highly educated, people will do politics with galamsey. Oh, I am in Crawford, oh, MPP, Yenyedi, I am in Crawford, NDC, Yenyedi. No. If we are getting to that point, let's push it full throttle and do it. Do what must be done. That's it.
Well, they did come into office on the back of accountability, transparency, and jobs. But I know the arguments that the lawyers of Edubuahin are making is that the Attorney General is exposing the wealth of their clients before they've even established a connection between these houses and, these alleged criminals. So let's wait and see how it all plays out in court. I did say alleged. Revitalizing research in education in Ghana, celebrating Nana Konadu Agyeman Rawlings on International Women's Day. My story. You really should pick a copy of the Daily Graphic and read this for yourself. ICU regional conferences to herald 12th quadrennial delegates conference. Kwewu Professionals Network elects new executive. And Bono chiefs pledged to support regional minister to deal with galamsey. Lastly, UNIMAC students unite against single-use plastic. Students of the Institute of Journalism campus of the University of Media, Arts and Communication, that's UNIMAC GIJ, last Saturday converged on the Accra Metropolitan Assembly's Omanyaba Hall to propose fresh, innovative solutions against single-use plastics menace in the country. And that brings to mind that interview I had with Professor Kluche, where she said that they're going to begin phasing out the use of plastics in this country, as is done in other parts of the world where you can't use plastic past a certain point at the airports. That will be it for me for the Daily Graphic. Ben, let's do your paper now.
Oh, and I also see some people talking about we can do same procurement for rice consumed by senior high schools. So you know that procurement is one of our biggest areas where corruption takes place. And recently, Sarah Ekow Assafuah was speaking about school feeding and some of those developments. The courts will deal with those issues, but the sort of rot that I have heard has happened in some instances, I think ought to be investigated. And this ought not to be overlooked, because I know people in the erstwhile administration who spoke to me. You remember during COVID, we spoke about this free feeding, the feeding, they had a name for it, where they were feeding people on that
cooked
thing,
rice in packs.
That thing, I'm saying it here, that thing ought to be really looked into. Whoever is looking into some of those things, they ought to look there as well. Free advice. Anyway, the Ghanaian Times newspaper, Ghana Health Service records 20,599 TB cases in 2024, 90% cured in historic feat. It's interesting, isn't it? Because just yesterday, we're celebrating or talking about World TB Day. I nearly said oral health, because we did that sometime before. And the rates are falling from 40,000+, but we still need a lot of work to be done, because seriously, if one person has it, so many people are in danger. One person can quickly spread it through sputum, through air, to so many people within
COVID.
It's like COVID. Yeah. And the consequences are dire. If TB starts wasting your body, Charlie, it's crazy. And we often take it, a cold, and a cough, common cough or something. If you are seeing certain symptoms, please. And the good thing, I think they mentioned, the treatment is free. The DOTS treatment is free. So
it has been for a really long time. I remember growing up, but there was even a song they would play on TV. Tuberculosis is a curable disease. Visit your nearest hospital. I remember it because that's when I learned about TB. So take advantage of the free, healthcare that you be getting if you have tuberculosis, and don't let this disease take your life or take your life away from you while you're still living. It's really important.
I'll just get into a few details about that story. The other stories we basically looked at, so I'll not belabor the point. But Ghana recorded 20,599 tuberculosis cases last year, with over 90% of diagnosed patients successfully treated and cured. The milestone, which is the first in the history for the country, also saw a decline in TB-related deaths to 5.1%, a significant improvement from previous years, where mortality rates ranged between 8 and 10%. And of course, the theme for this year, yes, we can end TB, commit, invest, deliver. I guess commit, all of us, invest, government invest more, and let's all deliver. President tasks Ghana Armed Forces Council to prioritize discipline, integrity, and military. Minority accuses AG of overstepping legal mandate. You've already done that story. Former NSB DG, that's the Director General, to appear before court for allegedly diverting 40 million Ghana cedis. That's according to the AG. We've also done that story. ECOWAS Commission initiative provides hot meals to Upper West Region deprived schools. And the ECOWAS Commission, through its Regional Agency for Agriculture and Food, has launched an initiative to provide hot meals to schools in deprived communities to help increase enrollment and provide quality education in deprived communities in the Upper West region. The 3-year project is being implemented by the Millennium Child Support Program, a non-governmental organization in partnership with the Ghana School Feeding Program, with funding from the Spanish Cooperation through the ECOWAS's RAAF, that's the Regional Agency for Agriculture and Food. You know, they say there is more blessing in giving than receiving. Sometimes I ask myself, I think it was under Atta Mills when there was something, was it in Haiti? Was it the hurricane or something? And I think it was alleged that Ghana had made some donation to our brothers and sisters there. You know, they traced their roots to Africa, and there was some hue and cry. You can go as far back as Nkrumah and the whole claims about Guinea and Mali and supposedly helping these countries out. But we are always on the take. When, you know, there's a certain dignity. They say the only time you should look down on someone is when you are helping them up. But we, dear, we are always cupping hand. Misremo every day. The Spanish cooperation is helping here. USAID, they pull the plug. There's chaos here and there, not just in Ghana, though, to be fair. But when do we get to the point where we can also say, we are helping another? Hey.
As an individual, it's very difficult for me to even ask for help and say that, oh, Mami Sikanko, you say, or Namga Mawala. But I live in a country where that's like our modus operandi. All the time we are cup in hand asking for help. Ben, I'm not taking the wind out of your sail. Please continue.
Well, Krachi East residents appeal to government for new ferry. And this is also quite a situation. Residents of Krachi East have appealed to the government to replace the current ferry at Dambai with a new one to enhance transportation in the area. Speaking on behalf of the residents of the OT regional capital, Dambai, the chief at Dambai, Togbe Batalija, said the situation has gone from bad to worse since November 2024, as traders were stranded for 4 to 5 days, hoping that the pontoon would be repaired within a short period. If you've ever used that stretch, you would understand that, look, if this happens, it means some people's businesses are basically going to be grounded. And I think this is something that ought to be looked at. If you even see the state of the pontoon and rust and a few things, Economy Times, I'm going to blaze through the rest and then we can cap it off. Benchmark oil production pegged at 127,000 barrels per day at price of $74.70 per barrel. Legal framework for gold board ready for parliamentary consideration. You remember the story and some conversations about, okay, so where's the legality in terms of their work? And then the central bank ceding that aspect of, you know, gold and all of that to them. So amid calls for clarity on the structure, purposes and activities of the gold board, referred to simply as gold board, being established by the President John Dramani Mahama administration, legislative proposals have now been drawn up for consideration by Parliament, which will be required to turn them into law. However, it is still unclear what the process, the timelines for this process is, since the bill has not yet been formally presented to Parliament. With gold prices having passed $3,000 per ounce last week for the first time, Ghana is looking up to gold industry revenues to make up for the ongoing slump in cocoa revenues and stagnant oil revenues. And then illegal mining fight takes a new turn as government academia introduce new approach. So what's that? And then I'll come to you, Sweetie, for your thoughts. As efforts are intensified to end illegal mining in Ghana, especially in forest reserves, cocoa growing areas and along water bodies, government is taking steps to ban all forms of mining in forest reserves. In supporting these political efforts through the use of legal regimes and security task forces, academia has committed to a new approach. The Minister for Environment Science, it goes on and on, last week assured Ghanaians that there were steps to repeal LI 2462, which permits mining in forest reserves. Let me go to page 10. I want those details before we... But he says, we have actually started the process. I engaged the ranking member. No, that's not what I'm looking for. Meanwhile, the University of Ghana, in its effort to engage in multidisciplinary research that addresses societal challenges, has launched a 2-year project to tackle the pressing issue of illegal mining in Ghana. Led by a team of 5 researchers from the university, the Anti-Galamsey Project seeks to address the menace of illegal mining through research, advocacy, and the application of linguistic and cultural strategies. So I guess let's fight it from all fronts. How do you feel about that?
Did we not know what it would take to fight Galamsey going into election 2024? Did we not know? Did Ghana Medical Association, all these trade unions and anti-Galamsey campaigners not list out a number of demands, or, you know, they did the work, they brainstormed, they did the assessment, and they came out with solutions that these are the steps that if we take, will help us eradicate this menace from the country. Fast forward, it's what, March ending 2025, and we are seeing different approaches to fighting this illegal mining menace. And Benjamin, I don't know if you watch Newsfile, the minister sought to sort of explain what implications that we will suffer if we revoke the LI 2462 completely, which is why they were amending. And I listened to Ekow Assafuah say that perhaps the government or the minister is being misled, because if you look at what the ask was, revoke LI 2462, ban all small-scale mining across board. Something about removing...
Which was highly contested. The small-scale miners said that, Charlie, we are not into illegal mining, though we know that in some instances there have been issues with it.
But the things that were requested and the way this government is approaching the fight to illegal mining, now we are hearing of some sort of research, team. But
this is academia. This is the University of Ghana on its own saying we are joining the fight. This is what we are bringing to bear. Has nothing to do with government.
It's okay. I'm just saying that what we're asking for, what we need to be done, the declaration of a state of emergency and all these other, these were things that were demanded. And I believe that a president bought into it. He said that he was going to revoke LI. And I'm listening to Ekow Assafuah say it and repeated it. The president specifically said they were going to do all these things. And now he's in office. And of course, they're climbing down on these illegal miners. They're seizing excavators. Forestry Commission said 55. As at the time that statement was put out, 55 excavators and so on and so forth. That has even come under question, whether or not we should ban these excavators or we should keep them and use them as a way of tracking or as evidence to prosecute perpetrators. And I think it's time that you actually give Ghanaians what they're asking for. Otherwise it's just, we said that the ESWA administration was gaslighting us because they would do something and try to explain it as some other way. And is this not mirroring, what they were doing? We are saying declare a state of emergency, revoke LI, stop mining, all small-scale mining for a proper assessment on how we want to approach this. You are seizing excavators, making amendments to the LI that actually grants permission to enter the forest reserves in the first place. So I'm not particularly too excited about our approach to this fight. It is giving us some results, but is that really what it will take to eradicate completely this menace? Those are questions that I want to be asking.
So we had members of the NDC come into our studios and, wax lyrical about, I remember back then, yes, but it's a state of emergency and all of that. We are simply asking that the same zeal they applied before the elections, they should apply same now. In fact, if you look at something that Arusha Ghana put out, why LI 2462 must be revoked in its entirety, they talk about how it allows mining in forest reserves without boundaries. They talk about the regulation allowing mining in all types of forest reserves, including protected and production forests alike. I'm just summarizing. The specific access granted for mining globally, forests having non-renewable resources that provide clean air, water, and climate regulation, and the fact that LI 2462 was passed without inclusive public engagement. The erstwhile administration passed it, kind of like the e-levy structure. It lacks legal authority, they say. It contradicts national and international commitments when it comes to biodiversity. It encourages irresponsible mining practices and weakens environmental safeguards. So there's a lot more to be looked at, and I think it was yesterday also that you mentioned that it's not just about what has been said in the past. We want to see the actual actions on the ground. And there's a difference between completely revoking and
amending.
Yeah. You get it. So we need some clarity on those moves and what the way forward would be. Just some quick stories. Domahene calls for arrest of chiefs and others involved in Galamsey. That's the Domahene and president of the Bono Regional House of Chiefs, Osajefo Osiadeyo Ajimanbedu II. Then interesting, first Black Republican Congresswoman dies at 49. That's on page 5 of the Ghanaian Times. I just went back. The New Republic talks about some of the stories we've already done. Crackdown in NPP, Ekow Assafuah's forced silence reveals party's dictatorial inclinations. And then concerned parents seek removal of home municipal education director. The catalyst, oral bites raw. This headline, oral bites raw. It doesn't use braces, it bites raw. Punch newspaper, there's President Mahama pledges economic transformation for northern region and more. That's it from my end.
Right, and the overseer, just one story here, says only 48% of produced water gets to final consumer. And I'll just skip to the part where he says the remaining 52% is lost due to various challenges, including pipeline leakages, illegal connections, and inefficiencies in the distribution structures. Just like our economy, you know, it's Ikaso, but inefficiencies, leakages, and so on and so forth. We're always going cap in hand, begging for alms. That's our time for the news review segment on the AM show this morning. My guest, Benjamin Akakpo, joined me for this conversation. Please stay and stay.
We'll be back with more action. Sports comes your way up next. Here we are discussing the latest developments as far as the Attorney General is concerned. Mr. Edubuahene, together with his wife and a few others implicated. And we're going to look at the general issue of corruption and how it's being dealt with by the National Democratic Congress's government. But joining us for a conversation on that, we have Ekow Assafuah. He is legislator for Old Tafo. And we also have Dr. Samuel Aye. He is with the NDC's communications team. Both of them join the conversation. Gentlemen, good morning.
Good morning. He's a government spokesperson. That's how this world can change. Just about 3-4 months ago, he was a communicator of the NDC. Now, when you see his title is government spokesperson, he's a big man.
You would happen to know about titles. Tell me more.
He's a big man.
Yeah.
He's a big man.
You also moved from PRO at a point of the education ministry.
Yes,
then you became a legislator, became a deputy minister. Your title don't change, you know me so.
I was just asking him, have you found some job for you? So the new job that he's gotten is the government spokesperson. I mean, that's a big job, you know.
Right. Anyway, gentlemen, so let's take an initial look at how this government has started tackling. They said they would ensure accountability and not just putting people in prison. No, it was also about retrieving funds and ensuring that if something had to go back into the state's kitty for development, it would. So far, Vincent, from what you've seen, and the minority has had a lot to say in Parliament. The last time we heard the Wejagbawe legislator, Shoaib, speaking to the issues. What do you make of these developments generally? We are not coming to specifics yet, generally.
Well, let me say a very good morning to you once again, to my brother and to your cherished viewers. I must say that corruption is a canker across the globe and that will need to be dealt with by every state. And if a particular party decides to deal with canker corruption, normally it gets the support of the general populace. I support every strategy. I support every path to be able to deal with corruption in this country, especially when the resources that could have been used for other developmental projects is siphoned into personal pockets and personal accounts. And so on that basis, I support it. Having said so, my belief is that we are a country of laws, a country that believes in rule of law. The same constitution or the same laws that is giving you the mandate to be able to fight corruption is the same law that is also giving you the route, the path to be able to deal with corruption. And so you cannot appropriate and reprobate. You cannot say that I'm doing cherry picking. I have taken an aspect of the constitution or an aspect of the law, but the other one, I will not take it. And so if you want to deal with corruption, my problem generally from January till date is that it seems the NDC and the current government is bent on dealing with corruption, which we support. But there's a bit of a lacuna. The lacuna is where procedurally the strategy and the processes that they've been using is jaundiced in a point that they seem to be doing things anyhow. It started with how this oral was even formed. At the point we heard the leader of oral saying that oral will end at the point On another platform, you also heard him say that oral is going to be in perpetuity. It is going to be there forever. I have 2 videos of him saying 2 different things at the same time, on the same day. One was on TV3, the other one was on Newsfile, the same day on Saturday. And so clearly you could see that they just want to use corruption as a tag to hang a particular political party. I don't think that should be the way to go. I would want to urge them that fighting corruption will have the support of every Ghanaian, especially young people in this country. Today, the budget that was read in Parliament is telling us that employment has been freezed. If employment is freezed, it should tell you that there's a problem. It is because of the difficulties that we find ourselves as a state, and corruption is one of them. And it is on that basis that we are facing the challenges that we are facing today. So we support every call to be able to deal with corruption, but procedurally it should be done right.
All right. Later we'll get into the procedural processes that you say are jaundiced, but I posit that if oral, whether it was meant to end at a certain point or continue, if corruption is being dealt with, doesn't matter.
Well, the point is that
there was no law that said oral must end at this point, or if people said some things and now it has to continue so that Ghana will benefit, doesn't really matter.
No, you see, at the point we believe that there were state institutions that were supposed to be dealing with these matters. Today, the AG is now relying on Ekow. We have special prosecutor. We have always insisted that please make sure that your state institutions that are supposed to be dealing with corruption is given the necessary tools, is given the necessary support to be able to deal with it. I don't think that there was a need for oral. Oral could have been surreptitiously done without necessarily mentioning it, so that they support the work of the state institutions like Ekow, like the AG itself, like the special prosecutor, and all the other institutions that deal with crime or if like corruption in this country.
All right. My final bit to you for now, though her issue is not on the chopping board today, I cannot help it because Pankrono is part of your constituency. So Cecilia Dapa, she's been in court, and her lawyers for the accused persons are talking about the fact that some of the jewelry that she reported as stolen were actually jewelry belonging, the claim was that they belonged to the Otumfuo Oseitu, the second, and that's the first actually, not the second, the first, and that they had been returned to the Manchia Palace following relentless pressure from the people of Pankrono. Since you represent those people, that's why I'm bringing up this issue. But then the thinking is that the very same jewelry that supposedly has been returned is the jewelry that the claim is made that has been stolen, and then her brother, the sub-chief, and all of that will come in. What's your reflection on this issue?
Well, I'll have a very simple thing to say on that. Yesterday, when I saw the flyer, she's like a mother to me. I sent it to her. The first thing I heard her say was, you know, Vincent, this is just untrue. Yeah, one of the lawyers is just trying to peddle falsehood against her and all that. So from her.
But you know, in a court of law, just like in Parliament, there are records of what is said.
According to her, and I will only take her word for now because, of course, you have to listen to the other side. Has been an allegation. The other side, or the one that the issue is about, is telling us that it is not true. It is falsehood. It is something that cannot have any basis or whatsoever. So he tells me that, my son, what you are saying or what the lawyer is saying has no basis. It is unfounded. It cannot be used anywhere. And he doesn't even see how these things should even come to the public domain. So my point is that from what she is telling me, which I have no doubt to be able to take what she's told me, that what the lawyer is saying is nothing to write home about. It has no basis. It is unfounded, and it cannot be used anywhere, whether in the court of law or whatsoever.
I see. Let me come to you, Dr. Aye. Procedural processes that are jaundiced, oral, you said it would end at a point, it's continuing, and all of these processes. But what are your reflections on what your administration has done so far?
Thank you very much. Good morning to yourself, my co-panelist, the Honorable Ekow Assafuah Esquire. And our viewers watching us this morning.
I'd appreciate it if you could speak up just a little more.
Yes, surprisingly, in my formative years, I lived in a town found within Honorable's constituency, Pankrono Abed. Even though, so in fact, the school
I'm hearing this for the first time.
My basic school I completed is actually found in the constituency.
Which school is that? Oh, okay.
Happy to be here this morning. I think that the NDCs or the government's pursuit to clamp down on corruption is one that has received a lot of plaudits from the people of Ghana. My senior brother here says that why did we form ORA? Because there's already Yoko, there's already the Attorney General Department. But they are the government that formed Special Prosecutor. Before the inception of Special Prosecutor, there was already Yoko. There was already the Attorney General Department. And so we must be consistent in our submissions. We cannot approbate and reprobate. We cannot commend the MPP government at the time for setting up Special Prosecutor and deride the NDC government for forming ORA. The point is clear. ORA is just a fact-finding entity. It was to bring or to bridge the gap between the people of Ghana and anti-corruption and law enforcement agencies. That was what it is and nothing more. We are in the situation where in this country, there are people who will not be able to man up to Attorney General Department or the Ghana Police Service to make an official complaint. And so it was the agenda of the John Mahama leadership in opposition to say that we will set up the Operation Recover All Loot Committee to take information for the people of Ghana. We had a situation where their contact numbers were provided, their emails were provided, their offices where they will be operating were provided, so that people can easily, in a friendly manner, in a patriotic manner, walk to them and give them every information that they need to prosecute a matter. Since the inception of this regime, the MPP has waged a consistent war of attrition on ORA to reduce the mojo of the members of the ORA and to demoralize them. But I have a simple message for them. The John Mahama administration, we are unfazed, we are not perturbed, we are focused to deliver on the mandate that the people of Ghana have given us. Look, the way corruption and loot has permeated in our system, especially within the last 8 years, the people of Ghana will not forgive the NDC administration if we do not clamp down, we do not exact accountability to significant members of the previous administration who openly engage in acts of corruption that are beyond doubt, that are suspicious, and you do not need rocket science knowledge to know or to unravel that there is some corruption or corruption-related activities in their conduct. And so ORA has come to stay. The ORA committee presented their report to the president. I was in that meeting when that report was presented. You understand the point I'm making? Where over 2,000 complaints were made. Some of those complaints have been, taken care of by the Attorney General. In fact, only a few days ago, the Deputy Attorney General made it clear that early next month, all manner of, prosecutions will begin to bring judgment and justice for the people of Ghana as far as their meager resources are concerned. So we will not allow members of the minority to run down ORA. Especially look at what happened in the SNLD. Look at what happened in the National Cathedral.
In the specifics, when you go to court, we'll get the details.
Yes.
There. But they are saying, and Vincent Assafuah was mentioning, procedurally, they feel some things are not being done as they ought to be done. The entry into Dr. Addison's house, for example, and we'll come to Edubwai, was seen to be a raid, was classified as a raid. And in fact, many media entities also classified it as a raid. We've heard Justice Remsai come and talk about the fact that this was sanctioned, there was a warrant and all of that. But the modus operandi, if you have the information, what is Richard Jakpa doing in all of this? What role exactly is Richard Jakpa playing when he goes to houses and he's leading the charge? What is his locus?
You see, I told you that there is an agenda by the MPP to reduce people's mojo and people's morale.
Does Richard Jakpa go to these places?
Is the director of operations of the national security, which is beyond doubt.
At the time that he went,
it is on record. Beyond doubt.
He's asking you a question. At the time he went to Kenoforiata's residence, did he have that portfolio?
Hold on. National security, unfortunately, does not have a public relations outfit. You do not expect Richard Jakpa to come and post his appointment letter on Facebook for people to know that he's the director of operations. If he was not clothed with the power to do that, he wouldn't have done that.
But you've made a lot of appointments and all of that. How come? I mean, I'm yet to see.
How many appointments have you seen?
I'm yet to see the one in specific reference to Richard Jakpa. That's all I'm asking.
So when Kenoforiata actually issued a writ, did you notice that the person that he is accusing to have trespassed his private premises, Richard Jakpa's name is not part? Why is his name not part? Because he was carrying out his constitutionally mandated responsibility as a national security.
So you're saying that as of the time they went to the residence of Ken Oforiatta, Richard Jakpa,
he was a director. Exactly, there's no doubt about it. Right. So it is a narrative that the members of the opposition are spinning to create public, support and sympathy that they are being harassed. Nobody is being harassed. In fact, yesterday the Attorney General alluded to the fact that the noise that the opposition is making, if they do not take care, there is a recording where Addison actually made, Dr. Ernest Addison actually made some statements which will actually dismiss all the claim that the Honorable Minority Leader, Lawyer Alexander Fenyo-Market, is making. And so the point must be made clear that nobody is being harassed. All these operations have been carried out within the remits of the law without, disrespecting or infringing on the fundamental human rights of some individuals. So the point must be made clear that the national security operations that are being carried out are legally sanctioned and no human rights have been abused. It must be made very clear strenuously.
Clarify for me, and maybe Justice Remsai may have to do that, but he made mention of the fact that parliamentary privileges may be getting abused because he says the minority leader is spinning, like you are saying, and that maybe they will look at certain provisions. Does that mean you are going to, what are you going to do about that? Would that be tantamount to muzzling?
I think that personally, the Attorney General Department will have that locus to discuss this matter. But the point must be made that we cannot hide behind parliamentary immunity and completely disrespect and run down state institutions or persons who carry out operations on behalf of the state. The Honorable Afenyo-Market knew that he was in the presence of Parliament, and so he will be insulated from, a defamatory suit. But to be very honest, in fact, he described Richard Jakpa in a very derogatory terms. Somebody going about or carrying himself as a national security operative. Meanwhile, the man is a national security operative. You understand the point? Pound for pound, he also has the same credentials, if not more, than the Honorable Minority Leader. So on what basis do we describe a national security operative and national security operations as a hungry NDC foot soldier? I don't think that is fair to how government.
Those terminologies would not be fair.
Definitely would not be fair.
But let's get some details here. Clarify for me, Vincent. Is Kwabena Edubuahene the son of Professor Edubuahene? The Professor Edubuahene, MPP presidential candidate in 1992, renowned historian, someone I actually respect a lot. Is he his son?
The information I got, he is not.
He is not.
But even before.
No. I just wanted that clarity.
I just wanted to respond to one or two things that he said, just to put matters into proper perspective. One, you cannot compare apples with oranges. Why am I saying so? You cannot say that MPP also introduced special prosecutor. We gave a legal backing to that institution before it started work. Oral had no legal backing whatsoever. It was just a presidential announcement from the spokesperson of the president at the time. And so it cannot be the same. There are two different things altogether. Secondly, I have personally...
But the same, I think the linkage has to do with the conversations. If people talk about, oral, we have, you mentioned, we have Ekow, and I think that is where the nexus is. Hold for me. You said that, why oral? Because we have Ekow and all of these, and now they are helping out. That was the same conversation that came up when the Special Prosecutor's Office was being set up. Barring the law or whatever, it still boils down to the same point. People were feeling that it was a mere replication of the same state institutions. Was that not the overarching?
On that note, I disagree with you, because you see, as a government, if you think that this is the path that I want to take, and on that path there's a lacuna in the state institution as far as their mandates are concerned, you have every right to also review the law, or if you like, introduce another state agency and give it a legal backing. And that is what we did. It is different from what they are doing with oral. Number two, on the floor of Parliament, I have personally asked two very critical questions, which questions, one way or the other, unfortunately, has not been admitted or has not.
What are these questions? For the sake of time, I want us to be very quick.
The first question is that the Minister of Defense was supposed to come to the floor of Parliament and explain to the people of Ghana what Mr. Japa was doing in the house of the Honorable Finance Minister, former Finance Minister. Do you know that I was told that the question is not being admitted because Mr. Japa is not a public official? Secondly,
which contradicts what?
Yes, and secondly, why Mr. Ibrahim Mahama was driving the President of the Republic to a public function? I was told once again that question cannot be answered by the Minister of Government Communications, because Mr. Ibrahim Mahama, per parliamentary proceedings, is not a public official. And for that matter, that question cannot be answered. It actually...
I've heard concerns raised about Ibrahim Mahama driving his brother. What is the fundamental issue? I've heard talk about security and all of that, but why must this?
I wanted the Minister of Government Communications
be debated in Parliament.
Not debate. I mean, to get the Minister for Government Communications to explain to the Ghanaian people, because I know when you become a President of the Republic of Ghana, you are not a property of the state. There are people who are well trained to be doing that job for you. It is on that basis that today, when he is traveling until January 7th, when he was using his brother's personal private jet, or if you like using our or passenger, today he cannot do that again. And so we have every responsibility to make sure that we protect our president because he's our property. It is on that basis that I filed that question. And that question was not admitted because Mr. Ibrahim Mahama is not a public official.
Well, I guess you'd have to deal with that in Parliament, wouldn't you?
Of course, that's what I'm saying, that I mean there are processes to make sure that...
So let the processes work. As for here...
But I just wanted to put that into proper perspective. There's not much we can do about
that situation. Let's come to Edubuahene, Kwabena Edubuahene, and his wife, Angela Ejay. So if you look at... I wouldn't call it the rap sheet. The Americans would want to use that term. But prima facie evidence that the AG put forward... He's said to have diverted $39.46 million into the private accounts of he himself, and his wife in a $7 million deal to purchase a cyber defense software. Then, while serving as the Director General of the BNC in 2018, he and his wife incorporated a private company with the name BNC Communications Bureau Limited, a name similar to the then BNC. Why the choice of name? Maybe the courts will tell. And then you look at the sums involved, the $7 million contract and how the money was expended. Then you look at the 49 million Ghana cedis. There's talk about the private BNC account at UMB, where these payments were made, purporting to be payments for the software for the state. And then the linkages between that estate in, is it Oyarifa, and the selling price at one point, $1 million paid cash down. At another point, $500,000 paid cash down. 27 houses in a gated estate at Oyarefa, and some separate houses at Chado and its environs, and the story goes on and on. I'll start with you, Dr. Aye.
So that's fine.
What does this really mean? Because there are some who have poo-pooed this and said, I mean, this is nothing. There's nothing that can be written on to hang. And I use hang carefully, not in the actual sense. Edubuahene. But what does this say about the fight against corruption and these revelations? How did you find them?
Of course, for me, I was extremely scandalized yesterday whilst the Attorney General was pouring through his speech. It goes a long way to reaffirm my long-held belief that the last 8 years of the MPP regime was an all-play, all free-for-all enterprise of sleaze, of graft, of unwanted, unbridled corruption, of deliberate dissipation and misapplication of public funds, if not diversion.
Those are some strong words to use based on one, event that seems to have quite a bit of meat to it. You can say all of this about the previous administration.
There are so many other ones that, if not because of time, I would have gone through it. But the fundamental point must be made that there is clear evidence here that a man who occupies a very sensitive position in our country, the National Signal Bureau, the National Security Council agency, for me, he has the necessary credentials, highly educated. For a man of that caliber to allegedly, on the face of what we see, engage in this level of grafts, it can only tell how greedy some people are and why I say that there was a free-for-all enterprise for people to line their pockets with state kitty.
You call it graft. Even before the courts have ruled on the matter, you are certain it is graft?
Yes, there can be no explanation why somebody who occupies such a position engages in a contract with an international company in Israel to a tune of $7 million, at the time 49 million Ghana cedis, to transfer 49 million Ghana cedis, not directly into the company that they actually entered into that contractual agreement with, but to his personal company. That smacks of huge conflict of interest.
And the interesting bit there is that the sum of money, the 27.1 billion Ghana cedis, is moved from the state's BNC operations account to in UMB Bank.
Yes.
To a private BNC account, same name, which is a private account, same bank. But you go ahead. I'll pose that question to Vincent. What he thinks why probably that happened.
Is it not extremely suspicious? And when that happened, one would have expected that those monies will be directly transferred into ISC Holdings account, but it was transferred into the personal account for which he and his wife are directors, and not the 49 million Ghana cedis fully transferred. Only 9.5 million transferred, and the remaining used as fixed deposits, and some used for real estate investments for his personal use. That, for me, is one of the gravest misapplication and diversion of public funds that I have seen as a young person. No explanation can be made to this effect. You create an account that is extremely similar to the accounts of the entity that you lead as the director for National Signal Bureau. It has never happened for me.
Okay.
And if you look at...
I want you to land. Yes, we have limited time. I want you to land.
And yesterday, when the information broke, the people of Ghana are asking themselves, how can you do this to us? Within a short period of time, a young man has been able to accumulate this wealth, in which institution in Ghana do you work for 8 years and acquire over 37 houses to yourself?
Okay, hold for me.
How much salary
hold for me.
earn?
Kwabena Edu-Buahene may be able to justify his sources of income. We'll check those. Relax. We are not judges. The judges will.
But hold on. There's evidence to suggest that the person transferred money that is supposed to pay to ISC holdings for real estate.
I am not disputing that. But before I go to Vincent Assafuah, let's look at Kwabena Edu-Buahene's lawyers and what they had to say on this matter. We'll splash it on your screen shortly. We'll take a look at exactly what they had to say, and then I'll come to Vincent with some questions, because it's also left me scratching my head. So let's please put that on the screens before I get to Vincent, and we'll get some answers on the back of this. But Vincent, when I come to you, what I want to find out is, even in getting back into the country, and there we have that statement. So Edu-Buahene's lawyer's response, when a suspect is being investigated, okay, so let's just start from here. The power to investigate any Ghanaian for alleged criminal offenses has not party colors. It is a painstaking exercise to ensure that the rights of citizens are not abused. Let's go to the next slide. Let's find out what is there. When a suspect is being investigated, he is entitled to bail for the simple reason that the investigating body cannot treat him as an individual already pronounced guilty by a court of competent jurisdiction. The criminal jurisprudence the world over frowns upon inquiry bail being used as an emotive, that is, you are adding emotion to it, weapon of punishment against persons. Let's go to the next slide. I just wanted to be very quick. We are shocked that at the press conference, the Attorney General was even entertaining himself with issues of plea bargaining when the statements of the suspects are yet to be taken. Next slide. On Thursday, the 20th of March, Mr. Kwabena Edu-Buahene arrived at Kotoka International Airport on a British Airways flight from the UK. It is totally false that he flew economy class to disguise himself, as the Attorney General was strenuously projecting it to be. Our client was in the business class, a fact which is easily verifiable. In today's Ghana, the AG is acutely aware he has violated the rights of our clients relating to the not more than 48-hour incarceration constitutional prescription, and tells the whole world he can play with the bail issues. This is interesting because in the past we've seen certain issues, and I guess it's different strokes for different folks. Next slide. Especially when you look at even Democracy Hub and that demonstration and how these people were kept. We are seeing through the dastardly agenda that led us in the court of public opinion besmear Kwabena and Angela with filth and guilt, and it goes on and on talking about propaganda. Let me come to Vincent on that point. First off, what the Attorney General said about the convoluted process of simply coming back to Ghana, Kwabena Edu-Buahene, from the UK and then Emirates and then rescinding the ticket, then coming with economy class and all of that. It's pretty interesting. So your side is saying that never happened. Just clarify for me.
Before I get there.
No, we don't have that much time. I want us to
what happened there. No, I'm not going to respond to
incisive, right.
What happened yesterday will have to be put into proper perspective.
Okay.
The Ghanaian people will also have to even understand what even transpired yesterday.
Right.
As to the legality or the basis for which the AG did that.
Can you do that for me in like 40 seconds?
It is important because it only allows Ghanaians to understand whether what he did has some legal legs or not. As a lawyer, there is the Legal Profession Act, which allows a prosecutor, or if you like, even the AG, to brief Ghanaians, but in doing so, it is regulated. And it is regulated under Rule 40 of the Legal Profession Act. Rule 40 is saying that, except for statements that are necessary to inform the public of the nature and extent of the action of the prosecutor, and that serves the legitimate law enforcement purpose. 1. The AG or the prosecutor should refrain from making extrajudicial comments that have a substantial likelihood of heightening public condemnation of the accused.
Right.
Public condemnation of the accused. Accused emphasis my. Accused is even different from suspect. Accused is when you have been charged by the AG or the prosecutor. And so what that means is that even as we speak, the AG, if on the basis of transparency, would want to go ahead and brief the people of Ghana, is supposed to be regulated by Rule 40 of the Legal Profession Act.
Are you saying that he flouted Rule 40 in terms of what he did yesterday? Where does the buck stop? Who determines where
that is what I'm saying is? Okay, so too far is determined by Rule 40 of the Legal Profession Act, saying that refrain from making extrajudicial comments that have substantial likelihood of heightening public condemnation of the accused. Today, even on this platform, my brother is already hanging, and you were even telling him he's already hanging Kwabena. I am not holding brief for Kwabena. In fact, until yesterday, I have not even heard of Kwabena. I don't even know him, even though he served as a CEO or Director General of my government. I don't even know Kwabena, and I will not hold brief for anybody who is found to be engaging in corruption.
Right.
On the face of it, prima facie, from what I have seen, it is scary. And I will not support anybody if these allegations are found to be true, that indeed you siphon state resources into your personal account. Nobody, especially like me, will never come to your defense. But procedurally, we need to make sure that we prosecute people but not persecute. Under the Constitution of the Republic of Ghana, Chapter 5, which is the fundamental human rights of persons.
Right.
Do not pronounce people guilty.
Innocent until proven guilty. Right.
So you see, so you are supposed to be seen to be innocent before you are pronounced guilty. But what we are seeing in this country and what the strategy that the NDC is using now is for you to be guilty, pronounced guilty in the public domain before you have to even prove that you are innocent.
And the former president,
that is shameful.
Often would talk about the rule of law.
I know Dr. Ayini very well.
Hold for me. The former president will talk about.
I'm very passionate about this because tomorrow
in his government and why some people were not. But moving away from all of that,
I wanted to end with this. I know Dr. Ayini very well. This is not Dr. Ayini I know.
This is not the Dr. Ayini you know.
Go and ask every senior MP.
What has changed?
I don't know. That's why I'm surprised, because this is not Dr. Ayini.
Okay.
I am thinking that there's a certain amount of pressure on him from his government, from his party, to find a way to hang MPP officials to disgrace the party. I am not sure that he's doing this out of his own volition.
You know what's interesting? The same was said of the former AG, Godfrey Adame, that he had also been given a charge to hang certain people, including Dr. Kasilato Fortin.
Right.
It's interesting that now it has been turned the other way. But what you made reference of in respect of the charge when it comes to the AG, do you know what the OSP Act says and how it applies to the OSP?
What does it say?
I'm asking you.
No, tell me, what does it say?
Because in the end, if we are saying that is what applies to the AG, I'm just recalling that the OSP, on a number of occasions, whether it's that the Colonel who used to be with, was it Immigration or Customs, and La Bianca and all of those issues, how would you paint that?
This is an inquiry or investigation that is being done by the AG. The AG is regulated by Article 88 of the 1992 Constitution. The same Legal Profession Act is dealing with the AG or any prosecutor who is under the AG. My point is that if the AG would want to brief the public about what is happening with respect to any case or whatsoever, he should not do so to heighten public condemnation against the person.
All right. Let's make the most of the next 7-8 minutes, and then we can wrap the conversation. Before I come back to you, I'll give you ample time, Dr. Aye. On the face of it, you say what you see is scary, and the sort of wealth. Hopefully, Edu Boahene acquired that wealth through legitimate ways. Hopefully, he did. If unfortunately he didn't, then the law would have to deal with him. But how shocking is it for you that one person can amass all this wealth under the circumstances? Because then when you become a person of interest, when you become a politically exposed person, all of these things come up. Looking at the whole pirouette when it comes to finding his way back to Ghana, looking at the UMB account issues, looking at the purchases, as a member of parliament and as a Ghanaian, are you worried about these developments? Whether or not?
I am more than worried. I am more than worried because, see, assuming that these allegations that are made by the AG is anything to go by, assuming that you award a contract to yourself, one way or the other, money is paid into your account, then you pay a bit of it to the one who is actually supposed to perform the contract, and you think that I should not be worried. I am worried as a young person because it is my money. It is something that is supposed to be used in the developmental agenda of this country so that young people can benefit. And that is why I referred you to the current budget, where the government is saying that yes, we don't have money, and for that matter, we cannot even employ. But I am just saying that please let us hesitate slowly.
Let's hasten slowly. Right.
So that you don't hang people without even listening to them.
Right.
Cardinal among every criminal prosecution is for you to listen to the other side. Today, the person is not even accused, just a suspect.
All right. Thank
Why
you.
don't we take our time?
Thank you for this.
But this is scary.
And we must highlight.
If this is true, please, I'm warning party persons, NPP persons, in the event that this is proving that this is true, please don't go and defend this because we are building a nation.
Thank you for those thoughts. Then I nearly said OSP, then the Attorney General turns his attention to the NSS, the National Service Scheme, among others. In fact, there he says the investigations would conclude in the National Service Scheme and SkyTrain scandals. And then he goes on to mention certain amounts. He says, we also have evidence that in November 2024, the CEO and others paid a Ghanaian MP to kill the story in the media and to defend them. Again, your take on I'll take your reaction.
Basis on that.
Pardon me.
What's the legal basis in that? AG making this statement and an MP.
Is that another one of the assertions that you think shouldn't have been made?
Should be defined.
Okay, let me come to that.
Before I even
and the punishment
I want to respond just about 30 seconds.
Hey,
the point is that he read section 40 or some provisions. He said the comments of the Attorney General must not raise tensions against the accused. As we speak, the person is not accused. And in what
he mentions that he's
and that's what I'm saying, that he should not even keep quiet.
Exactly. So the point is that yesterday we all listened to the Attorney General. Exactly what has he said to push or to give finality to the matter. The person is being arraigned for.
He will talk about his assessment
the person will have
and that he believes this.
But the Attorney General ordinarily would not have had this press conference, except for pressure being mounted on him from the NPP side that he's harassing them, he's engaging on the right. The Attorney General has made a public statement that he will not rush to court unless he has the facts and all the evidence available to ensure a conviction. And so the MPP's attempt to run him down and pretend as if he's doing something illegal is neither here nor there. He is focused. He's doing his investigations. He'll go to court very soon, as he rightfully said. In the middle of April, prosecutions will start for the SkyTrain and the National Service. Now, to come to the National Service matter, yesterday the Attorney General...
You can just lump them together for the sake of time. National Service, SkyTrain,
of course, of course. The Attorney General, from the press conference yesterday, it does appear that there is overwhelming evidence to ensure that we get our monies back or secure a conviction. He said that for the National Service issue, about 8 people are being interrogated. And he, in his direct words, he said they are singing. They are singing means that they are actually, some of them
collaborating, they are cooperating.
Some of them are doing every effort to actually exonerate themselves from the matter. You understand? So they are singing and investigations are ongoing. For the SkyTrain matter, the Attorney General said the CEO has bolted with his tail in between his legs. He ran to South Africa.
Is it Senegal or South Africa?
Initially ran to South Africa, currently hiding somewhere in Senegal. all manner of measures and steps are being put in place.
I guess, like in the case of Ken Ofori-Atta, it may be in his interest to come back into the jurisdiction.
Of course, but
and clear his name.
Of course, the fundamental point must be made to the understanding of the people of Ghana that we remain committed. We will go every extraordinary mile to make sure that accountability is exacted.
All right,
to make sure that every penny that has been diverted and stolen from the publicity will be returned to the people of Ghana for developmental projects to be made.
All right.
The people of Ghana.
All right. The thing I'll end on with you, and it's not a question, is that it's rhetorical. As you oralize oral, and as you apply it, so as you use oral as a yardstick, which is good. If members of your administration are found culpable, then you will not go and use Laura. You will use oral. You will not use Laura. You will use oral.
In fact, they can't say that no okay. He who comes with equity must come with clean hands. In fact, the Attorney General made it clear yesterday that members of his government who engage in corrupt activities will face the music. Your Excellency, the Vice President said during his
your time is up.
That you will face the music.
All right. Vincent, on those same points, I want you to, whatever reactions you have, but also add this for me. I'm a little, you said that you were all for fighting corruption, ensuring that anything that belongs to the state is recovered and all of that. Sarah Ekow Assafuah also comes out and points to some of the rot. And one area I want things to be really looked at is school feeding and some of what happened in there, including even COVID-19 and the feeding of people on the streets. Why then is your party impeding her? Per the Constitution, she has the freedom of speech to the point where people go and block her at her home and all of that. What's going on?
The fact that she has the freedom of speech doesn't mean that she can do things anyhow that will affect the image of the party. She is also not bad to give any information or whatsoever that she has to the AG or to any state institution that can investigate. And so let's get that very clear. Today, if Ekow Assafuah decides that I'm not going to speak on TV or radio, but I'm going to give information or to provide information to the AG, she's so well placed within the law to be able to do so. From what my brother just said, that they have the commitment, or from his side, I mean, they are committed in making sure that whoever have stolen from the state, wherever you are across the globe, you will be brought back to Ghana to face the law. Please, consistency's sake, start with Sedina Tamaklo. Sedina Tamaklo is not even under. She has been convicted of stealing from the state. She is not in the country. You people are quiet. Start from there. Let us know that indeed you have that commitment to make sure that people answer. People answer to the sins that they've committed against the state. Whilst I support that, I am also supporting you in dealing with anybody who have stolen from the state. Wherever they are across the globe, please do so. But in doing so, don't do cherry picking. People have already been convicted. You are not bringing them to investigate them. You are bringing them to come and serve their prison sentences. Please, you are in government now. This was one of your CEOs under your government who had to run away from this country without even standing trial, if I should put it that way, without even coming to court. But today that person has been convicted. You people are quiet about it. So if you are committed...
Which one are you speaking of? The master?
Sedina Tamaklo. So if you are committed in dealing with people
they must deal with that too,
they
right?
must also deal with that one. But I also support them.
Hold for me quickly. Hold for me. I'll come back to you. What's happening to...
of course.
I mean, if you can let your tentacles go this far, you must also be able to get Madam Tamaklo, who has been convicted, to come back into the country and account.
The Attorney General has made it clear that his government officials, members of his party, will also go through the same fire. They were in government.
No, but this person has gone through the fire already. Why can't we get her to be repatriated, be brought into the country for her to face the music, the consequences of her action?
They stayed in power for 8 years and weren't able to bring it.
And that's why we voted.
So we just came in 2 months. What you couldn't do in 8 years, you expect the NDC government to do in 2 months. We are going every mile to HO. But that is a fact. That is a fact. If you spend 8 years...
We are not looking for the woman. We have not been looking for the woman in 8 years.
Please let him land for the sake of... I want us to...
The NDC government, just like the Attorney General said, is extremely committed to rein in all errant officials that engage in corruption, which the said individual you mentioned is part of.
Okay.
So we just came 2 months, and we are putting in place measures to ensure that the person is brought back.
Okay.
You have to recognize the efforts you are putting in place and all that.
We want to hear from the AG the same way we are hearing from him about things that he himself is not even sure. And when I say he's not even sure of, the court has not pronounced anything. The same way we are hearing from him, please let us hear from the AG on the similar matter. 2, I have triggered an RTI request to him about the memos he himself mentioned that based on those memos, he based on that to file a nolle prosequa. 14 days elapsed for the first request. He did not answer to it. He told me that he's not going to respond. I had a personal conversation with him. The second one, 15 days has also elapsed. He has also not responded. The law says that when you don't respond, it means a refusal. Yesterday, I wrote to RTI Commission. These are all things that ensure transparency. He cannot. That's why I'm saying that this is not the Attorney General I know. This is not the Dominic.
Vincent,
he's cherry picking.
I have seen. You have shared some of those documents.
Yes, he's cherry picking.
Hold for me.
He should be able to make sure that be transparent about it.
Hold for me,
in all entirety.
I've seen some of those documents, but you see, this is where I always say that, especially as legislators, you should support the right thing always.
Right.
Here at Multimedia, do you know how many requests we put during your administration, the past administration, and you simply refused, all institutions.
What did you do?
Relax.
What did you do about it?
In fact,
you are well placed within the law.
We went through the entirety of the processes. You remember the fourth estate when in the SML.
Tell me the process.
Relax. And in the SML situation, you remember when eventually some data was given them. Instead of giving them something on a hard drive, they were given tens of thousands or thousands of sheets of paper just to frustrate, to go and look through from the Ghana Airport Company Limited and applications. All I'm saying, and then in Parliament itself, ministers and others were prompted, called, come before Parliament and account, and people refused
to
do that.
It's not true
on many counts.
No.
So my charge to you is,
don't do that.
As you politicians do these things.
No.
Always remember.
Yes, I'm denying
it. Always
because
remember.
In Parliament.
Hold for me.
When the minister is settled, the minister cannot say I will not come.
Should I deny what you are saying?
Dr. Aye, relax. As you do these things, you see, if you do the right thing yesterday and someone does the wrong thing today, you have every right to point to it. But if the wrong things have been done in the past, it's not a justification for another wrong to be done. But then it makes your matter. I
wasn't a minister. These things that you are saying.
No, I'm talking about people in the erstwhile administration and things that were done. So you are saying the right things, but let us continue with those right things. It's not that
no problem,
when it affects your people,
But when the AG
right,
himself is now out, when the AG is now out saying all this, I expect him to, be holistic about his approach. He should not be picking on this one and decide to leave this one out. That is the point that I'm trying to make. I am saying that when an RTI request is given, like what you just said, there's a whole law that requires you to go through the full length of it to get whatever you want. And that is the point where I've gotten to. The point where I've gotten to is to now write to the RTI Commission, for the RTI Commission to now intervene and call upon the AG to respond to me, or tell the RTI Commission why he's not responding to my request. Right. So I think that maybe you could have gone through that process.
Right.
However, I was not a minister at the time. I did not get notice of all these things that you are talking about. But in Parliament, no
Let
minister...
me see, even when did you become a deputy minister?
That was around June or May, thereabout. It was extra time.
And your process,
extra time
you were those whose processes were held up because the minority did not approve you.
Doc has been given 4 years.
I remember
I was given just 6 months.
Yeah. But you remember...
Okay, gentlemen, we have to go. We have to go. Final words. The people of Ghana. I don't know whether you also want to talk about the Black Stars and their new winning ways.
Of course.
But as you wrap up, what do you think is the way forward when it comes to fighting corruption in the country? 1 minute each. You can also add your thoughts on the Black Stars. Quickly, let's go.
The only way we can fight corruption is for the anti-corruption agencies to actually have the commitment and zeal to fight it. And I want to use this opportunity to commend Ekow and the Attorney General Department, but especially Ekow, for doing all these investigations, covertly, and ensuring that the people of Ghana have the opportunity to appreciate the issues going on. They did that without any public, press conferences and all that. I want to commend them for the work they are doing. Indeed, the Attorney General will gladly partner them and will exact accountability that at the end of the day, the overwhelming votes the people of Ghana gave us in the December 7, 2024 election, we will put it to good use and we will retrieve all the monies.
Okay, quickly, Black Stars, any thoughts? Quickly.
Oh, yesterday I was extremely happy. And surprisingly, the Black Stars, they are doing extremely well.
Team Naye,
surprisingly, I don't know what is going on. I don't know what has happened. Maybe they have a new, I don't know whether the West...
Please speak up a bit more.
I don't know whether the West, His Excellency the President, gave them before their matches, sank deep into them. And they are thinking about how to make the His Excellency the President happy. But all in all, I think that the love for Black Stars is coming. I am happy about it. I'll be praying that.
All right.
We'll have the opportunity to be present at the World Cup so that all of us can cheer them on.
In the USA.
Yes.
Vincent, final words.
I was on the pitch the day that we were playing Chad as the ranking youth and sports in Parliament. And I remember telling them one thing, that in football, you cannot do away with concentration. You can be a professional, you can be one of the best players, but if you lose concentration, you're likely to miss it. I think that Asamoah Gyan reiterated this.
And I was just about to mention that it also appears, he's come back, he's talking to the team members, Jordan and others. Absolutely. I think it's having a positive impact.
Absolutely, it's having a positive impact. But you know that even before the Chad match, Ghana had played 4 matches, which we had 9 points out of the 12. Indeed. So it was not actually bad. If it was that bad, I don't think that we will.
But at that point, looking at the league log with Madagascar and the rest, it was pretty tight. It was after the last match that I think we went 2 points ahead, and now by beating Madagascar, we are 5 points ahead.
Yes, but it wasn't that bad. Of course, we had just lost. Let me say we had 9 points out of 12, which was not that bad. But I mean, I've seen the NDC trying to make it look as if it is because they are in power. Please, if you are not in power, I'm the ranking for youth and sports. Please let us know what you are going to do about the lesser sports as well. We have Black Challenge. We have all those. What do you call it?
Should I ask you what your administration did about them?
But they are trying to make it look as if we failed. And that's why we voted for. Please make sure that we deal with all aspects of our
I always like having politicians in the studio, Charlie. NDC MPP. But gentlemen, thank you for joining the conversation. Dr. Samuel, he says I should call you a spokesperson, government spokesperson.
Designation. I'm just working for God. I
found a question. I'm sure you've seen it.
I've not seen it.
Oh, I found a question to fellas. I'm sure you'll see it.
Then I'm sure.
Yeah, he's a government spokesperson working in Felix Ofosu-Kwakye's office, handling 78 million Ghana.
Please.
He's a big man.
Please, Tali, they have intel on you, so you have to.
It's not true. We all know. We all know. The minister made it clear that 78 million is GBC.
Dr. Samuel
ISD.
Dr. Samuel.
It's clear. Why are you spreading?
He's a government spokesperson. We also have Vincent Ekow Assafuah, the legislator for Old Tafo, Pankrono, Old Tafo. We're taking a breather. Don't you forget, this show is brought to you courtesy of Waylead Properties, and they have some interesting packages for you. We'll be telling you more about that later on the show. We take a breather. We'll be right back.
24 hours and more, the Ghana National Fire Service were able to contain the fire that engulfed the Edum PZ Arena on Sunday. This incident left over 6,000 traders counting their losses. But the regional minister, Dr. Frank Amoakohene, had earlier indicated that in order to curb a future reoccurrence, there is a need to decongest the area and create a pathway. But this directive has been faced by fierce resistance by some of these traders.
If they take the land, we won't be able to take care of our children. We plead with government to hand over our land to construct our own structures. fear that we might lose our land. If we are protecting it for us to lose control, then we will not agree.
At the Menchia Palace also, it was outrage among some affected traders who came to witness the Ashanti Regional Minister's briefing to the Kumasi Traditional Council. According to the Ashanti Regional Minister Frank Amakwe, the Kumasi Traditional Council will be visiting the Adum PZ Arena tomorrow.
The Asantehene has left the Assafuah to handle everything on his behalf. They send their sympathy to all of us who have been affected by the fire. The Kumasi Traditional Council are expected to visit the place tomorrow to find a resolution to all your demands.
While the traders are refusing to allow the decongestion exercise to continue, they are also demanding the PZ Arena land to be handed over to them for them to continue with their businesses. For Joy News, my name is Anabwashi Dankwayadom, Kumasi.
Welcome back. You're still watching the AM show on Joy News. And now we want to get some updates on all the fires that we've been experiencing in this country, because the Speaker of Parliament has directed the Defense and Interior Committee of Parliament to investigate all these fires that we're seeing. The ranking member joins me in the studio for a quick conversation. Let's speak to Reverend John Intim Fojo. He's Member of Parliament for Assin South and the ranking member on the Defense and Interior Committee. Rev, welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me, sweetie.
I hope it was under better circumstances, but the conversation is not an exciting one.
Yeah,
we've seen a lot of fires, and I know that the Speaker of Parliament has directed that some investigations be made. But let's start from the very beginning. How did the news of this fire come to you?
Yeah, thank you very much, and good morning to our cherished viewers. At the outset, I must convey my deep sympathies to all the affected traders in the Doom fire incident and the related fire incidents that we saw, Kantamanto, Techiman markets, Odumase, Konongo Odumase stores. All the traders who are affected, sadly, their livelihoods are gone, set ablaze, their properties, investments, all gone. It's very, very, very sad to wake up and to see that all your things are gone in flames. It's really sad. And so it came to us really shocking and very sad. And also to commiserate with some of the affected in the course of firefighting. Some firefighting officers, Ghana National Fire officers, were affected, particularly in relation to the Odumase Konongo explosion. It's even it destroyed the fire tender and then injured all the officers that were on duty until a backup came. So they are fighting for their lives. And so in such instances, it's important that much as we sympathize with the affected victims or who are the traders, we also commiserate with the firefighters who are also fighting for their lives.
Right. In fact, I like that we went straight into the firefighters and their lives being risked and all that. Let's talk about the challenges that the fire service is grappling with. We know that the whole of Ashanti region has only one crane, the turntable ladder, the ladder that is supposed to go, that one. And in fact, I watched that fire live on TV grow from a tiny little, portion of that top building, escalate into such a huge disaster that we saw. And this is because we didn't have the crane ladder on hand, to reach that top floor and douse that fire. And we also know that some of the tenders were there without water in them. Are you abreast with the issues that the Ghana Fire Service is grappling with? And what is the strategy here? Because this is not the first time it's coming up. As of last year, 2024, November, October, thereabouts, we're getting news of some of the challenges they were facing, lack of fire tenders, and we saw a breakdown of some. There are some regions, in fact, in this country that they don't have any working tenders. What is your assessment of all
Sadly
this?
so, sweetie, and I think that the time has come that as a country, we need to have a bipartisan, dispassionate conversation about prioritizing, resourcing and funding and budgetary allocations to the public safety sector. Enough of the politics, who did what and who did what. Let us sit down and say to ourselves that as a country, how can we protect the markets and the livelihoods and properties of our people in times of fire outbreaks. Fire outbreaks, however undesirable they are inevitable in many circumstances. And therefore, we need to take a look, consistently. You can take a look at our budgets of various years. You can take a look at budgets running into years, about 15 years, and you would find that allocation to fire service sector is one of the least. That's consistently, relatively, it's one of the least. And
how much are we talking about? Let's put the numbers.
I have all the figures here, but for the purposes, for some absolute circumspection, I would let you indulge me so that I solve the figures. But it's woefully inadequate. And so let us prioritize public safety sector. Let us have commensurate allocation there so that we can procure state-of-the-art fire tender. We can procure rapid intervention vehicles to ensure that, we have only 3 of the hydraulic platform fire tender in the whole of this country. So as you have one in Kumasi, I suppose one in Accra and one somewhere else. But there are many, many instances where fire will occur at heights that you need such equipment. We should even gradually get to a point where we should be able to procure as a country, aircraft that will be able to loaded with chemical powders that can go at heights in the
these
case
are all
of
parts
fire.
of these are parts of your plans, this administration's plans to solve the problem.
It is not, and that is why I'm calling for this conversation so that it is bipartisan. If you find it from political point of view, you lose it. So it's not about NDC, it's not about MPP, it's about the safety of Ghanaians, safety of our markets, and safety of our properties, safety of the present, our environment. And it is not, if you look at some allocations in certain places, some have alluded to some 2.7 billion cedis going to Office of Government Machinery, 70 million going to research at Flagstaff House, 78 million going to one-man Ministry for Government Communication, all that. That is not the conversation we are to have. But the goal to indicate that, yes, though in the modest resources of the country, there are still some funding available, which we can prioritize public safety and allocate commensurate, expenditure allocations there to be able to afford this equipment. And you see, one of the challenges is that whenever, and I'll come to the 3 main challenges that bedevil these firefighting challenges, but one of it is equipment. One of the agencies that has been so unfairly treated by the public, misperceived as incompetent, as ineffective, as unwilling to help people is the fire service.
Why do you think that is? You've been a legislator for a while now. Why do you, if you were to make an educated guess, like I like to say, what do you think is the reason why we have, that the country has only 248 fire tenders to manage a population of over 30 million? It's unheard of. Yeah. And out of that number, we know that 248 fire tenders, out of the 248, only 155 are functioning. What do you think is accounting?
And that is precisely the point, and I agree with you totally. So they have been unfairly treated. Whenever there's fire outbreak and we call on fire service, together, the first thing politicians would do, the first thing the victims would do, is to throw tantrums at the fire service personnel who are already frustrated because they don't have the equipment, they're even having difficulty maneuvering the settlement to be able to assess where the incident is occurring, and then by structure, even when they are fire tender, the volume of water that can be in a fire tender, within 5 minutes of attacking the fire, it will run out. And therefore, when a fire service tender comes to a scene, and within 5 minutes their water run out, you don't throw tantrums at them, as we saw the regional minister in Ashanti region doing at the officers, most unprofessional. But here, the challenge here is that by the structure and planning, Ghana Water Company is mandated by law to set up fire hydrants in such high-risk areas, markets, residential areas, factories, and whatnot.
We now know that some people built some sort of structures on high places where
they had
to go and crack that place open before they could get access to the hydrant.
It is so sad. So many people don't even know that it is not the work of fire service to install those fire hydrants and keep it maintained and running. And so whenever fire hydrants run out of water and the personnel are helpless, we put the blame on Ghana Fire Service.
Rev, you haven't quite answered my question. I want to pick your thoughts on this, because you have been a legislator this isn't your first time in Parliament. and you're a leader. We want answers from you. If you were to make an educated guess, what do you think is the reason why? You just told us that you have the budgets from going back years, and it shows you, although you want to be circumspect in holding back the actual figures, it shows you that the fire service has been under-resourced for a really long time. And I'm saying that, why do you think that is? Why do you think in 2025, we are still talking about a whole region, Ashanti, a huge place like that, has only one fire tender, crane ladder, and the inefficiencies and inadequacies we're seeing?
So political will is the number one, because if you can allocate 2.7 billion to government machinery, of course, it means that even within the modest resources of the state, you could as well allocate $1 billion to public safety sector if you were so willing to do so. So that is one. But the other challenge, so that will cure the resourcing aspects, which need to be cured, and which conversation we're going to take and which advocacy we're going to take so dispassionately and in a bipartisan manner. That said, there's another challenge to do with enforcement. Because all these standards are there, and all these regulations are there to be enforced, and to be enforced by the district assemblies, MMDAs, to be enforced by Ghana Water Company. And that was one of the points I was making, that it is the duty of Ghana Water Company. Are you aware that every water bill that you pay, there's 1% on it you pay, that must go to servicing fire hydrants? So Ghana Water Company collects all these revenues. What do they do with the fire hydrants? And when there are problems, we lump the blame on the doorstep of fire service, but they don't take such revenues. So we are appealing to Ghana Water Company to be up and doing, up and running, rise up to the task, and ensure installation of fire hydrants in all high-risk areas, and where there are existing installations, maintain them and ensure there's water sufficient, so that in any event of any eventuality, the personnel from fire service can plug in and then do their firefighting. But the incident that you also cited in Techiman, for instance, where there's fire hydrants, but for about 50 years, an individual has built stores on it, tiled it, concreted it, put their shops on it, earning a living on it. And there have been DCEs for many terms. There have been regional ministers for many terms. None of them had been able to take the initiative to enforce, to ensure that the whip is cracked. So it calls for a multi-sectorial, collaboration to be able to ensure that a task force is given to solve this problem. We should not sit down for another fire to happen somewhere in another big city and raise down properties and investment of our brothers and sisters to want to set up another investigation. So I welcome the idea and the referral made by Speaker to my committee jointly with the Committee on Local Government, so that we can come together and engage other sectors and agencies who are even relevant to it. Let us go into the causes. Some are speculating. In some instances, for the Doom fire incident, for instance, many of the traders, if you talk to 10 traders, 8 of them will tell you that Doomsaw caused it. That it was fire, here and there, and the moment it came on, then ignition, and it set ablaze their stores. Whether it is true or not, we should not be quick to wish it away or to discount it. Let us go into it.
What do you know, as we speak, what do you know about the cause of the fire? Or should I just include the others, the Kantamanto, Techiman, and all the rest? What do you know?
Preliminary, investigations is pointing to the electrical matter. So ECG, who are quick to come and debunk it, is premature to debunk. Let them allow us to go into it fully to ascertain if that indications pointing towards power fluctuation was indeed one of the contributors to the fire outbreak. In some instances, it had been due to explosives being sold in markets and stores like tomatoes and shoes. And we have a full regulation on how, explosive, dynamite and other explosive ought to be transported right from the port, how they have to be accompanied and tracked and transported and stored, and their disposition, all that. But after Apiet's incident, we still don't seem to have learned much lessons, and not much enforcement is being seen to that. And so in the Odumase Konongo fire explosion, for instance, it was attributed to explosive being sold in stores close to households and close to public places, and then set ablaze. So we need to go into all that. Some also, like Kantamanto and other markets, also point to electrical faults, not doomsor, but electrical faults. And so
some also point to arson, especially.
Yes, some may be, and therefore, in collaboration with the relevant security agencies, we will be able to determine the root causes. But that said, we need to also look at the matter of settlement planning, town planning, which has also impeded the effectiveness of Ghana National Fire Service in their efforts at responding to fire outbreaks when they occur. A lot of roads that must lead to settlements are blocked by people's buildings or stores or certain structures that are unauthorized. We should be able to put politics aside. Ghana has become too polarized that for a regional minister or a DC or MC to be able to properly enforce, you have to step on a number of toes. And some will be bold to tell you, Honorable, we are meant to mount. If you come and demolish this, I'm not going to vote for you. But they know very well they did not obtain any permits to put up that building, and it's in an unauthorized location. So we haven't done much good to ourselves as a country. So enforcement is key. Citizens must also cooperate.
Okay. So let me just give you some more context on the tangents that we are now. We know that traders are resisting that decongestion exercise intended to create a pathway for emergency cases. And if you watched what happened, there was a point where the tender was going to the place and individual stalls, and it was just so much blocking that, as you can see on your screens, actually, you can see that human beings had filled the street. And aside the danger this poses to their lives as individuals, as human beings, going close to that, there's also obstructing the fire service work to be able to douse this flame as soon as possible. So when you say that it's a problem of enforcement, whose fault is that?
Yeah, so it's still within enforcement. And so when you had failed at the outset on the preventive...
Who's failed? Our leaders failed?
The state. Enforcement is on the state. And it is also the responsibility of the state to bring the citizenry along. Orientation, education, campaign, all kinds of awareness that will engage our community members, our markets groups to understand that any enforcement that the state seeks to undertake is for their own safety. And I think that if this engagement had even come before this fire incident, and progressively we would have come to a point where consensus will be built. I am appealing to the traders in the Doom and any other markets, for instance, which some resettlement and replanning will be occasioned, to cooperate with authorities. But it will also, for the state to get a buy-in of the traders, they need to engage them extensively. They need to engage them if they have to bring in chiefs, market queens, opinion leaders, assembly members, any group of people that will need to be brought into this engagement to arrive at consensus for people to agree that certain demolition need to occur, certain restructuring needs to be done to make their market safer for them. It is so important, and it is imperative.
Okay.
But that said, again, one other thing that we must also look at is support for the victims, because many people, about 600,000 or so, I'm told. 6,000 people, I'm told, in Edum alone have lost their livelihood. Similar numbers in Kantamanto, similar numbers in Techiman, similar numbers, Dumase and other related incidents that Speaker has referred to us. Let us have a comprehensive way of supporting them to come to their aid, whilst to reconstruct, the markets and to put them back in livelihood. And Ghana has demonstrated to be a state of empathy, a state that responds to their citizens, a state that is responsive whenever their citizens are in distress. We demonstrated that in a Piate incident, when the state-led group of philanthropists and the state committed to reconstructing the whole community, putting them back into their livelihood. Then when we had the unfortunate Akosombo Dam spillage, we saw in the 2025 budget an allocation of 242 million cedis allocated to supporting victims in Akosombo dam spillage. We also saw further in the same budget.
Well, some would argue that, sorry, I had to interject at that point. Some would argue that it's because of the goodwill of Ghanaians that most of these traders don't have insurance. because we're speaking to, who was it that we're speaking to yesterday about insurance? And I think the head of business and economy for Guta. And he was saying that, well, I sort of appealed to him that they should teach their traders, their members, and help them on board onto some sort of insurance.
I'll come to the insurance side.
Why is it? Yeah, the question is simple.
But let me
really.
just
why are we
quickly? Then I'll respond onto the insurance. And a further 200 million cedis was allocated to supporting victims in the K2 South, tidal wave, and so destruction that occurred. And these are very important investments into our people, our compatriots, and I commend the government for that. So equally deserving are the people of Edum, equally deserving are the people of Techiman, equally deserving are the people of Odumase, equally deserving are the people of Kantamanto, who were affected. So let us have one of the recommendations that at the end of our work will likely come up will be a proposal for national support for these victims to put them back in business. But the risk,
and that's going to come from taxpayers' money.
Yes, it must.
But must it?
Yes,
because if you have insurance, if you're a trader, and you mentioned that fires, it's inevitable. You said that in your submission, it's inevitable. So if you know that something like that can happen to you, what is terribly wrong with onboarding on an insurance scheme so that the government does not have to fall in every time that something happens with taxpayers' money?
Very, very tenable. But like I said, it is we have precedents demonstrated that whenever such similar disasters occur, the state allocates hundreds of millions of cedis in supporting them. So if we have supported our brothers here and our brothers in another location are also in distress, in that same benevolence, we need to support them. But that does not discount the responsibility that lies on the trader to secure their investment, because today support may come. I hear already some 600,000 have been mobilized by the Ashanti Regional Minister to support some victims. But from one philanthropist gave 500,000, and the Minister for Gender and Children and Social Protection also gave 100,000. But that is not sufficient. But I'm saying that today you may get some support, but tomorrow you may not. And so it is important that just as every other country does it, you set up your store, you set up your shop, you insure it. And for it to be attractive for the insurance brokers to even find it acceptable to enter into a business of insuring your shop, there are certain minimum requirements you need to put in place. I can tell you, most of these fires, most of these markets that burnt down, no insurance company will insure because the risk is just too high. You go and inspect, there may even be no fire extinguisher, the settlement, they have their own actuarial assessment they conduct, and they will tell you no insurance company will insure some of these.
So I guess that falls on the states to ensure that these market areas
to reconstruct, replan, and so it all dovetails into that conversation.
Okay, we do have to be wrapping up, but I want to find out from you what the strategy is, because you've been tasked to investigate not just this Edum fire, Katamanto, Techiman, in fact all the fires that we've been seeing in this past few days or months. What is the strategy for your committee? How are you going to approach this?
We have prioritized it. We're going to quickly meet as a joint committee, Defense and Interior on one hand and then local government on the other side, to come together. At the moment, today, tomorrow, all committees are busy dealing with appropriations. We need to pass appropriation bill by Friday, and therefore all of us are busy with it. So I suppose that by next week, we'll be able to sit on this. Any necessary visits we need to make, engagement we have to do it. But what I'm saying here is that in the meantime, whilst waiting for the big push and the big investment into resourcing Ghana National Fire Service, there are certain basic investments we can do now. For instance, buying rapid intervention vehicles for every district and in highly populated markets and areas, about 2 or 3, it will ensure that if we have problems with maneuvering, because resettlement is a long-term thing. You can't finish resettling to make streets maneuverable within a short time. But if you have rapid intervention vehicles, they're like pickup trucks, very, very small. and you have them, they will be able to get to the scene faster. And then if we're able to get engagement with Ghana Water Company to operationalize all existing fire hydrants and construct new ones that are necessary, once the rapid intervention vehicles get in there first, they will be able to discharge, they'll be able to fight it, and waiting for the big tenders to arrive. And then so that in the medium term or in the immediate, within this period, we'll be able to improve upon how effective we're able to fight such incidents as and when they occur.
Thank you. That's our time. I hope that the thing you said about putting aside party coloration and tackling this issue head on is actually something we see under this administration.
Absolutely. And in conclusion, just quickly, it has come to my attention, some 2 officers of the National Fire Service who have been terminated because they had exchanges with the Ashanti Regional Minister. And even though they apologized, I hear the apology was rejected and they are facing termination. I want to appeal, come to stay. We cannot allow people who are working in the discharge of their duties to be sacked because of a politician's ego.
Right. We cannot independently verify that at the moment, but we will.
Yes, it's a matter we are taking it up seriously.
Right.
So fire service personnel, be assured, we will not allow morale to dampen because some politicians can fire you at pleasure. That cannot happen.
Reverend Intim Fojo, Ranking Member on Defense and Interior Committee and Member of Parliament for Asin South. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you very much, sweetie.
You want to stay because there's a lot more coming your way on the AM show, brought to you by Waylead Properties. We'll be right back.
You're back on the AM show, brought to you by Waylead Properties. And we have a conversation now with the Ghana Chamber of Shipping. In fact, the president joins the conversation. It's all about the maritime sector, transport in Ghana, and what is happening at our ports, what is happening as far as the industry is concerned, what challenges they are facing, and how government, through policy and otherwise, can alleviate their suffering or their plight. Joining me for a conversation, Stanley Raja Aholu, he's President, Ghana Chamber of Shipping. He joins the conversation. Good morning.
Good morning, Benjamin, and good morning to your viewers this morning.
It's good to have you join us for this conversation. Yesterday, at the Marriott Hotel, the Ghana Chamber of Shipping, in collaboration with other industry players, you put together the Alhaj Asuma Banda Memorial Forum. I just want to start off the conversation from there. Why that forum? What did you seek to achieve? Do you think you achieved what you sought to at the outset?
Once again, thank you very much for that. And we were honored to have you moderate one of the panels. And then also for Joy FM actually carrying that live. We were privileged to have that.
It was live on Joy News.
It was live on Joy News at prime time. So that was really good for us. Why that? Alaji, of course, was the live patron and then also a co-founder of the chamber. And since his passing, we thought that this was a way to honor him as a chamber, bring to light or emphasize what he's been doing in terms of the maritime sector over the years. And I'm sure everybody knows Asuma Banda. But in terms of actually focusing on his achievements, his contribution to the maritime sector, and then also to highlight what private sector can achieve if given the opportunity to do so. Here's one example of the 20/80 rule, which is basically 20% of the effort can achieve 80% of the outcomes. And so this is why we put that out. And then also not only to talk about his contribution, his initiations and the innovations he brought to the sector, but also to then delve into what the sector looks like now, what the needs are, what the future for the sector is, how important the sector is to our economy, and so on and so forth.
And let's take it from there. I mean, Asuma Banda is, I mentioned yesterday, the man, the myth, the legend. And unfortunately, at the start of this month, he was called to glory. And being Muslim, it was very swift, and we had to say our goodbyes to him. Amtrak Air and his contributions.
Yes.
So whether you are thinking aviation or shipping, he was there, among other things. But the industry, why is it where it is? What is the state of the maritime industry in Ghana today? And what are the major challenges you face?
Okay, the state of the maritime industry. I mean, to understand the industry, I think let me go a little bit into saying, the structure of it. So our international trade is heavily dependent upon the maritime industry. The aspect of the maritime industry that our international trade is dependent upon is the long-haul shipping, international shipping. So if we're bringing cargo from China, from Europe, we rely on shipping 95% of the transportation required to bring it into the country. We rely on that.
So whether it's grains,
automobiles, whether it's machinery, whether it's food, whether it's in fact, Ghana is a giant supermarket for other people's goods. That's the way I describe it, because simply we are import dependent. And therefore, 2023, for example, merchandise trade, Ghana's merchandise trade was over $30 billion. And the international maritime trade actually just goes alongside that, because the maritime trade was about $20 million in terms of how the means by which we brought it in, the cost by which the money we paid for bringing all the goods in. So that's this international trade that's carried by sea. Now, there's the other aspect of the maritime sector, which is short sea shipping, local shipping, inland waterways, whether we are utilizing our inland waterways in transporting goods, in transporting people, whether we are actually trading with our neighbors. We're talking about Nigeria, Ivory Coast. How do we trade with them? How do we carry that trade? Is it by sea? And so on and so forth. That's what's referred to as inland waterways, short sea shipping, or coastal shipping. Now, the international...
Which in Ghana would mostly be Takoradi.
Takoradi, we have two ports, so Takoradi, Tema, and then, of course, inland waterways, the Volta, and so on and so forth. But, of course, we're trading with our neighbors somewhat. 16% of intra-African trade is what the number is now. Now, the state of the international maritime trade is quite good. We are dependent upon the multinational shipping lines, and we have port infrastructure that supports that. But as I've said, that aspect of international maritime transportation, or that the international trade, is important. We're paying for it. We're paying other people for that service.
In other words, what you're saying is it's a service, it is good, but it is largely predominantly foreign.
It's foreign.
Apart from tax revenue, as business people in Ghana, we're practically not benefiting
from it. From a purely revenue point of view.
How did we set up a system like that? How did that happen?
Well, it's colonial. It stems from the colonial era. I mean, our countries, started off with, first of all, our seas were used for, apart from fishing, local fishing, taking out slaves. So ports were created, forts and ports were created for the purposes of taking out our raw material. Initially started off also taking out slaves and so on and so forth. And then over the years, we've enhanced that, exporting raw material, bringing in finished goods. We ourselves, after independence, but after independence, we did something fantastic. We saw the importance of maritime transport. In fact, the government saw how important maritime transport was not only for our economy, but for the security of the country. And
we brought in the Black Star.
We brought in the Black Star Line. We brought in the Tema shipyard. And we added another port, the Tema port. We built a whole city around Tema port. to control our international trade and to benefit from that value chain. There's another thing that is very important in terms of economy and security. The supply chain. If your the products you consume are further away from the consumption point, which the situation is now, then if you don't control the means of bridging that gap, then you're dependent upon others. Then your economy is essentially dependent upon others.
What you're also saying is that we are highly dependent on the major shipping lines.
We are.
And so if there was some embargo, for example, they decided to take us on or punish us, we would be at their mercy.
At their mercy. Completely. Absolutely completely. And so this is why it's a security matter as well. So if they decide not to serve your country, then if your food supply is imported, is further away in Ukraine or Russia, and you don't have the ships to bring them in, and you're depending on other people's ships, then if they decide not to provide a service, then you're literally at
Let's
sea.
not look far. Think fuel.
Exactly.
When it's processed,
when it's
then
processed.
brought back into the country.
Yeah, exactly.
If they shut down, your economy
is simply shut. Exactly. And so, if those are the realities of our situation now, and so what we should be actually looking at long term is to ensure that what we need by way of consumption and production is not too far away from the country. And if it's far away, then we should control the means of bringing it in.
We should cut.
Yes. The supply chain.
There are two things to look at. One, we must produce more of what we consume, what we use here. But the other aspect is the very things we'll bring in. How then has government policy shaped where we are? There are a lot of policies, right?
Yeah.
What have they done to alleviate the situation? What more can be done to help this public-private partnership in building the industry in Ghana and for Ghana?
Yeah, there's what we're doing now is regulating. We have, regulatory infrastructure which is built around, again, international regulation. The IMO is the international regulator of the industry, and what we have done is basically just implement IMO regulations. And so we have institutions, apart from managing our own ports, and we have a statutory body that's doing that by way of regulating that and also playing in the sector. We also then have the Ghana Maritime Authority, Ghana Shippers Authority, and then we have Volta Lake Transport Company. It's a company, but it's a regulator as well. So what we're really doing is we're superintending over international transport services, global multinational transport system. We are basically superintending over.
We are not players.
We are not players.
We are merely overseeing what
exactly.
happens.
So when ships bring cargo to the ports, our port, Tema or Takrady, what happens from there? There's a whole host of things that does happen. But we have the ports, and we are focused on the ports because we are also heavily dependent upon the ports for our tax revenue. We've talked about the situation where tax revenue is more than 50% of what we get from the ports. So government is heavily dependent upon that. The investment is going into that. It's all well and good. So we have a very modern port system compared relative to the other countries. But that's not enough. The value chain for maritime transportation goes beyond ports. It really goes beyond ports. You should have the ship owning. The ships are the center of the maritime transport system. And we don't really have ships. We don't own ships. If you do have ships, then of course you're also talking about ship owners, ship management, chartering. You're talking about chandling. You're talking about all the services. Even ship agency, we don't even control that. We don't have that. That's all foreign. And so all of that money, that revenue that could possibly come from that part of the value chain is also left for others.
So what component? Because in yesterday's interaction, and I want us to lump a few things together because in the next 4 or so minutes we'll have to knock off. It appears that a chunk of the business, in fact, practically all of the business, if you look at the charges, if you look at engaging these foreign vessels and all of that, it means what comes to the Ghanaian businessman in the industry is about what percentage out of 100?
We are literally scratching the surface. I wouldn't even put it at 5%.
Not even at 5%.
Not even at 5%. We're at the fringes. So we're participating in logistics, freight forwarding, clearing of cargo, and so on, stevedoring.
But you're in your own country, you have a port, you're bringing goods in, but the foreigners control the market, and you, the Ghanaians, are on the fringes. You're on the periphery. You don't matter like that, so to speak. You don't own ships. You're just providing.
Let me just give you an example. There are 2 areas of the market, the shipping market, that we could have seriously considered, and we shouldn't have left that out. We shouldn't have just allowed foreigners to take control of that. This is bulk shipping. We have the cargo. Every year we have about, average 700,000 or 1 million tons of cocoa being shipped out. That's our cargo. They go out on ships. We control the cargo. At the very least, Cocoa Board or the establishment of that sort should be able to encourage and develop a bulk shipping industry in Ghana. It's mind-boggling that we are not able to do that, and we are shipping out cocoa on other people's vessels. That's a lot of money we're giving away.
Right.
Liquid bulk also. We're consuming a lot of petroleum products and fuel, and that also we're giving away. If you talk about insurance, cargo insurance, as I said, we're consuming everything. We're importing everything literally that we consume. We pay insurance when we import these things in. That insurance on cargo has quite significant value, and that should have been kept in-house, literally. And we also, the terms under which we ship in, cost insurance and freight, means that we give the insurance away to foreign insurance companies when actually we need the insurance to apply here.
So the whole system has been wired to favor outsiders rather than moving forward. I'll get to what you think government can do in the immediate term, because General Seidu, who is now in charge of the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority, I believe, has spoken about some tax cuts and what is likely to come. But port charges, some victimization, like what I heard yesterday from Dr. Amwako Mensah. How do we get past these before you give me your final words?
Port charges, I mean, we need to streamline those charges. We need to look at them.
Why are they not working? For you, at least.
Take, for example, container administration fees. I just give you one example where somebody goes and imports a cargo, a 20-footer container of cargo in, is brought into the country. You go to the shipping line to clear it. This is not part of your freight. You've already paid your freight. And then the local agent then demands that before you take the container out, you need to deposit cash of $80 thereabouts on one 20-footer container in order to in a situation where you return the container damaged, dirty, or not return it at all.
Is it $80 per container?
Per container. Cash. Now, why is that?
So if it's 10 containers, $800. If it's 100 containers, $8,000.
And then the shipper then has to go back after 3 weeks or something after returning the container to take that cash back. I mean, everywhere else, nobody deposits cash with a shipping line. What you're doing is what that should be is simply insurance to cover damage to the container if you don't return it, some form of insurance to cover cleaning a loss and things like that. Just depositing cash. You're giving cash to the shipping line to keep interest free. And providing them liquidity for their business. But the burden on the shipper in terms of this sum of money is quite heavy. If you look at it cumulatively, that's a lot of money being given to shipping lines just to run their business.
So the question now is, and this will be your final bit, where do we go from here? What are your expectations when it comes to government policy and you yourselves in the industry? Final words on that.
I think government policy has to, first of all, as we said yesterday at the forum, that this industry is best run by the private sector. So government has to encourage private sector participation. Government also has to look at its laws and administrative procedures to make it easier for business to be carried out within this sector. And then also some import substitution measures have to be put in place to ensure that some of this money that is going out be clawed back, as I always say, claw back a lot of money as an import substitution measure. This is very important. And then also government has to look, short sea shipping, inland waterways, this is where our strength, our comparative advantage is. And we have to look at the region. Continentally, we have to work with the continent to create a single market in order to allow for short sea shipping to thrive, coastal shipping to thrive, because our future depends upon that. If we can get our production, the things we need from our neighbors and trade with our neighbors, and transport will engender that kind of trade. And so this is the way to go. As for long haul shipping, it's a global system. We need to make sure that it benefits us. We need to make sure that it's not expensive. We need to make sure that the best standards and practice are adhered to here, and as in the other parts of the world where the same industry players are serving. There's nothing wrong with global shipping. That's the establishment of it. But we need to make sure that the best standards are practiced here as well.
Well, we shall keep giving you a voice. We hope that the actors that be, including you, will put your shoulders to the wheel and that things will change for the better and that we can do more for Mother Ghana.
Thank you very much, Benjamin.
And thank you for joining the conversation. And that is Stanley Raja Aholu, President, Ghana Chamber of Shipping. But we're taking a breather here. When we come back, there are more conversations coming your way. The Media Foundation for West Africa and Gender. What have they been up to? We'll be telling you more after the break.
It's a Tuesday morning at Nanori Presby Primary School in the East Mampresi municipality. As these children lift their voices in prayer, they are not just seeking knowledge, they are pleading for survival.
You didn't come to school that day. All right.
Here at Nanori Presby Primary School, education comes at a cost, not in cedis and pesos, but in courage and sometimes fear.
Classes were in session, and the KG children were there. So, knowing the weak nature of the structure, I, together with my colleagues, sent all the children to the uncompleted building, which we think is better, looks somehow standard in terms of strength. And after a while, after we succeeded in sending all the children into the uncompleted building, in less than 10 minutes, the wall collapsed.
And they came and told us that we should contribute. The GS, they came and said we should manage and build it. I, Ensemble, provide blocks, and we built it, and it collapsed again. So we called Ensemble, and they came and said they cannot they will look at it. That they will look at it and went back up to now.
So if the children were there, if I would have killed most of them, and you can imagine. So what figure will be here? Show by hand. If you know it, you raise up your hand.
What's left of the classroom is a fragile shelter of patched walls and uncertainty. Here, the youngest learners, kindergarten and lower primary pupils, are packed in a single crumbling room.
Again, to who? And the building itself, in fact, it's just a death trap.
But it wasn't supposed to be this way. In 2012, construction began on the 6-unit classroom block funded by the Ghana Education Trust Fund. 12 years on, this is all that stands. No floors, no windows and doors, no future.
The guest farm building, they started it 2012, and the roofing also done 2013, and they ran. The contractor ran away. We don't even know where he is. We reported this building to the ensemble. Even the planner came here and the director and looked at it and went back. We didn't hear anything from them up to now.
The broken building is more than a hazard. It is a reason to give up. Every term, more pupils drop out. Others trek about 8 kilometers to Gambaga for better learning conditions. Many never return.
We attempted starting a junior high school here just to encourage the community, the children, and then to reduce the drop-out rate in these communities. Because the challenge is that most children, after completing here, they had to travel from here to Gambaga about 8 kilometers daily. And in the course of that, many of them are always tempted to drop after basic 6. Well, if this building had actually been in shape, had completed and been in use, full use, I don't think that would have happened.
During the rainy season, teaching becomes a dangerous gamble. Leaking rooms, shaky walls, no escape plan. School stops, not by choice, but by nature.
Raining, we don't feel comfortable keeping the children here because of the nature of the structure. The structure is weak, so anything can happen. So sometimes we are tempted to send the children, allow them to go home during normal class hours when there are signs of rain because of what we saw the other time. And that alone, it also scares children. Look at this open environment. You can imagine over here, Hamatan would soon be in, and when the Hamatan also set, it also comes with its own challenges. Imagine how children can learn here comfortably in this open environment.
The local assembly says it has written several letters. GS says it cannot intervene. Meanwhile, children sit in fear, 12 years and counting.
We are not happy about it. We are not happy about it because the way it is, the children cannot sit comfortable, especially the rainy season time. When they are sitting and the rain comes, they have to run away. They can't take, their instructions very well.
Indeed, we are concerned. That's why, as Ayla once said, that it is not our interest to have them where they are, but they should have been in a well-structured, that uncompleted and abandoned project. But we are hands tied because what we could do is to appeal to our teachers to be mindful when the place is getting so much dangerous, then they don't allow the students in.
Despite the odds, the children keep coming. They dream of becoming nurses, teachers, doctors, and presidents. But hope alone cannot build classrooms.
Because sometimes I ask myself whether we are part of Ghana. How can a structure like this be put for over 10 years today? Since 2012, I'm told. And as I said earlier, you can imagine if they came here 10 November 2022 to inspect the building. And I made similar complaint. I pleaded with them if they could speed up effort to ensure that all the necessary assurance were. They say we'll hear from them soon, we'll hear from them. Up to date, we are still hearing from them soon. So why will I say the state or the nation is being fed to rest? Are we not Ghanaians? Are the children not Ghanaian children? Who knows whom the children will be? Who knows where the next MP will come from? Who knows where the next president, the next first lady will come from? Who knows where the next minister for education, health and other things will come from in this part of the country? So that is it. You see, this alone discourages most children.
At Nanori Presby Primary School, education is not free. It is paid for with risk and sacrifice. For 12 years, promises have crumbled, just like the school walls.
If duty bearers could come into our aid, GOs, the state, and all those agencies that are concerned in the upbringing of Ghanaian children, in the upbringing of children who will lead this nation in future, to ensure that these buildings and other structures that are meant for education brought and then put up to this school, it will help teaching and learning.
The children of Nanori are not asking for much, just the right to learn in safety, in dignity, and in peace. Emmanuel Jivenu, Joy News, East Mamprosi Municipality.
Live on the Joy News channel, this is still the AM show. And now let's get into a conversation because the Media Foundation for West Africa is launching a strategy document on promoting gender equality in the Ghanaian media space. And we know that Ghana has made some significant progress in promoting gender equality through international commitments, national policies, and legal frameworks like the Affirmative Action Act. But there's still a lot of work that we can do. And to address these challenges, the Media Foundation for West Africa, in partnership with Canal France International and the French Media Development Agency, launched the Equal Voices project. And in the studio with me this morning to tell us more about that is Rosemond Aite. She is Senior Manager, Media for Democracy and Good Governance Program with the Media Foundation for West Africa. Hello, Rosemond. Good morning. How are you?
I'm good. You?
I'm fabulous.
Great.
So I'm fabulous because of the conversation we're about to have.
Yes.
Well, let's start from a little overview. I know I just gave out some brief, but really, what is Equal Voice Project? What is it really about?
So the Equal Voices project is being implemented by the Media Foundation for West Africa together with the Canal France International, as you mentioned. We started this in 2003. And it basically was birthed out of a research that the CFI commissioned in 2020 to look at media equality in Africa and media content in sub-Saharan Africa.
Okay.
So it was done in 4 countries, of which Ghana, Ivory Coast, Niger, and the DRC were part. So the research unearthed certain findings that, 1, women face a lot of discrimination in the media sector, from sexual harassment to gender-based violence, sometimes to physical violence. And then when you look at the decision-making positions in the media, women are underrepresented there. So out of that, they piloted this project, which is, as I said, being run in Ghana and Cote d'Ivoire, basically to combat these inequalities and stereotypes that the research found, and also to look at promoting all women at all levels of responsibility through media policies and practices. Okay. But specifically, it also looks at equipping male and female journalists, giving them the skills and the knowledge so that they can produce more balanced and reportage on stories concerning men and women.
I like that you said both men and women. And just last week or so, we had a sort of national dialogue called Women Rising. And from that conversation, it came out that often we are so focused on empowering the women that we forget that most of the issues and the challenges that women go through we are at the receiving end of it. It's the men who do these things. So I like that you're not only focusing on women, but you are empowering and equipping the men as well.
Include both men and women.
Yeah.
Both men and women.
Okay, so tell us, what are some of the main recommendations that were outlined in this report?
Before I come to that, Sweetie, permit me to also mention some of the key challenges of which the recommendations were given. From the strategy dialogue, which we're launching on Thursday, we held a number of stakeholder sessions, and there were some issues that came up, some barriers that were identified.
Okay.
One was the leadership gap, where, as I said, women are underrepresented in decision-making positions. Yeah. Another issue that came up was content bias, that women and girls make up only 25% of news subjects, and in media,
only 25%.
Yes, in media narratives. And then it also identified the issue of workplace challenges, that the workplace conditions and systems and the structures do not support the biological, roles of women. And there's also limited opportunities for growth for women. And then the issue you mentioned about, which is what we identified as the bystander effect, where when it comes to the issue of gender, most men don't necessarily find themselves, as contributors or allies in resolving the problem. So these were some of the challenges, and a few recommendations that came up was for media organizations to introduce quota systems where, say, at least 30% of leadership positions are assigned to women. They also proposed structured mentoring and coaching programs institutionalized within media organizations, so that those in senior levels can coach and bring up the upcoming female journalists in the organizations. And there was the issue about content audits, that media organizations by themselves must conduct annual gender representation audits to check and assess how men and women are represented, in their stories, to help them align. Because this was a multi-stakeholder approach, there was also the suggestion to set up, or there is the proposal to set up a gender equity task force, that will comprise the media, trade unions, CSOs, academia, in order to drive systemic reforms in the media. And definitely policies also that would make, women to be able to balance their roles, their both home and career roles effectively.
For example, will be a place where they can bring their children.
Exactly. Yes. So childcare facilities, maternal protection mechanisms in the workplace, so that we can create the equality that we've been seeking for a long time.
We'll get there. So, in terms of actually adopting and implementing this strategy, talk to me about the role of media associations, policymakers, and media regulatory bodies, and how they can play pivotal roles in actualizing or to ensure that gender-sensitive media practices are...
So the beauty of the document that it's very actionable. So we've broken it down into immediate, medium-term and long-term strategies. So some of the policies, some of the actions that policymakers, regulators can adopt, for example, for the Media Commission, is to integrate gender into media regulations, and for policymakers to make gender audits a part of licensing requirements. So that is put in the document, and also for academia to incorporate gender curriculum more into gender issues more into the curriculum.
And that's part of the things listed in the Affirmative Action Act.
Exactly.
So education curriculum should speak to the sensitivity of gender issues and all that.
Exactly.
We do have to go, but I want to find out the details. When is this happening? The launch? Are we invited? Who is invited?
Yes. So this has been a multi-stakeholder approach and engagement from day one. So it's happening at Tang Palace, 9 a.m. on Thursday. And we've sent out invitations to the media and to all the stakeholders we've worked with. We are looking forward to a very successful launch.
I hope so. I'm wishing you the very best, and I'll try and pass by because I like topics like this. Rosemond Ayite, Senior Manager, Media for Democracy and Good Governance Program with the Media Foundation for West Africa. Thank you so much, Rosemond. Okay, Stick and Stay. In a bit, we'll come back with another conversation before we wrap up. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Let's talk about the Inter-School Reading Quiz 2025. It's Ghana's premier literacy competition, engaging 50+ schools and over 10,000 learners to inspire a love for reading, organized by Pebi Cubs. Last week, I engaged Anyele Pebi, and she told us all about it. I know you're on a certain point in the competition, but let's talk to my guest in the studio, Cynthia Maulawe Kudo. She's Chief Operating Officer. I like how you nodded your head. And Kezia Agbanyaga.
Data that shows that they have read, the kind of books they've read, how many points they've got, the quizzes that they answered. But then we needed to ensure that they really have read the book and it's not other people who are reading it for them. So we had two parts of the verification, process. Wherever we went to, so there was a test, a verification test, which tested the children on the books, the learners on the books they had read. And then we had a wheel of suspense round, which was to justify your inclusion for your school. So the schools, the group of the 10 children who are the top 10 in the school would come together and then spin the wheel to answer questions based on the top books read according to the leaderboard of their school.
What's at stake? What is the grand prize that these children are fighting for so much? What's at stake? Tell me.
So there's a lot at stake, and I think the icing on the cake is actually getting the opportunity to go beyond the borders of Ghana. And so the winner actually gets to spend good time touring, library facilities in different places and also seeing great places right out of this country, going straight into Dubai and having a very great experience.
It's just for children? I mean, I can read, I can write, I can spell. What do you want me to do? Right, but we've been following the competition, and I know you came here with a specific message. I want to give you each 1 minute to give us that message. What is it about the inter-school reading quiz that we should not miss? I'll start with you.
So if you're a parent, we would like to endeavor you to sign your children on the Pebi Cubs platform. I mean, reading is fundamental, and every parent wants their child to succeed. And one of the ways by which they can succeed is reading via Pebi Cubs, because we have all the books and all the things that they need to know and learn to get them where they need to get to make them successful adults. And also, if you're a school that wants to join this wonderful, fun, engaging, life-transforming opportunity for children, we would like you to reach out to us as well.
Right.
It doesn't just help the children, it helps the school also get some publicity.
Cynthia, I'm sure there are some sponsors you want to say hi to, and then you can add your final words for me in 1 minute.
Right.
Yeah.
So we definitely want to say a very big thank you to the Ghana Commission, where UNESCO actually sits supporting us. We also want to say thank you to ITC. We also want to say thank you to the Fellowship Project and the MasterCard Foundation. We definitely want to say hi to Fidelia, the hotel, for all the support they are giving us. We also have Trenor and Gowns, who've also really been very, very supportive. We're looking forward to many more people who would actually come on board to support us. We're calling out to corporate organizations who want to actually support something that's impactful.
Okay.
We are not having an event. We're having a celebration of people that have actually dedicated themselves to learning.
Okay.
And this is the culture we want to curate in all our CUBs so that we can have great future leaders.
Thank you so much.
Multimedia. We just
Yes, of course.
Thank you for your support.
Cynthia Maulawe is Chief Operating Officer, and Kezia Agbanyaga is Head of Content and Programs, all from Pebi Cubs, and they are the organizers of the Inter-School Reading Quiz. You want to follow the competition? The round of 32 is scheduled for the 27th and 28th of March at Legon. Don't miss it. But before we go, Ghana, let's talk about water tanks. Do you know the secret to real water storage? It's simple. If your tank doesn't have the tortoise on it, then it's not the correct tank. That's right. The tortoise tank, Syntex tank, is a champion of water tanks. It is strong and durable and built to handle our Ghanaian weather. Whether rain or shine, Syntex tank has got your back. So, my people, go outside, check your tank. And if it doesn't have the tortoise on it, it's time to upgrade. Join the Syntex tank family today and enjoy water storage that's tough like a tortoise. Call us now, 0244 335-168 to buy now, or find one of over 400 agents nationwide. You can also shop online though at syntexgh.com. Syntex Tank, a strong, a tough. Folks, I'm Sweetie Abochi. I did this with Benjamin Akakpo. We're back on your screens tomorrow from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. But for now, do stay. Joy News Desk is up next. Bye.